All right, and we are live. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. Peace be unto all of you. Welcome to the Sanctuary of Saints, where our mission is to develop and mature the children of God while building a self sustainable community. Though being inside the sanctuary is strictly for the children of God, I encourage all people to listen that they may live, mature, and one day be of service to the Most High through his people. Tonight needs no introduction. The recent events have captured most people's attention. Most people that I'm seeing on social media, especially, right, are talking about the war, right? The war that has just begun between the United States, Iran, Israel, so forth and so on, right? So everyone knows about it, I'm assuming. Aaron, you know about it, right? Right.
Con,
Eli, you know about it, right? Just making sure. I can't hear you. You
can I be
said
heard?
you were muffled. Try one more time.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, Con. No, I'm definitely fully aware of the situation at hand.
All right. All praises. So I just wanted to at least first start off making sure that the brothers that I'm on the live with are privy to the matter, but of course they are. It was almost a rhetorical question, right? So with that being said, there's been much misinformation given, much information given on the topic, many opinions spewed pro or against, different takes and things of that nature. I'm sure those brothers, is if I would ask them again, they would say that they've seen all kinds of statements and sides being chosen and things pertaining to this matter. Yeah. And of course, people have noticed maybe that the gas prices have gone up. I have. I've noticed that as well. Okay, so it's having already an economic effect, this war. So it for the moment, and I say this on purpose, for the moment, because we are all slaves to the moment, okay? And the next thing comes about and we turn our eyes toward that. For example, we're focused on this war right now, and you know what everybody's forgot about and not talking about anymore? The ICE raids that are still happening. Right? So we are prisoners of the moment, and we focus our attention on what's biggest and brightest. So, of course, there's been a flood of information on this topic. All of the prophets have come out and given their breakdowns concerning the situation, going to different scriptures, which we're going to do here today. And shout out to everyone who is doing it in truth and sincerity. All praises to the Most High. So, the point that I'm making here tonight is that we all are privy to what's going on, and it is now affecting our lives. I would be remiss if I did not say that for the past 2 to 3 years, we have been covering this event. We've been covering this. We've covered the preemptive strike that was going to take place on Iran. Now, I want to ask the brothers, and y'all don't have to say yes just because I'm asking you right now. Do you all recall any lessons that we have done on the news class pertaining to this topic that is unfolding tonight?
Yes.
All right, brother Eli said yes, he remembers. Brother Aaron, do you?
Yes. Con.
All right. So we've done multiple classes. One class in particular, and y'all can get in there and add. Eli, you're a little bit, low on your volume. I can't really hear you that well, but you guys can come in and add whenever you would like. All right, just to let you guys know. But the point that I'm making is we here we've been preparing for this. So I have a little bit different perspective. I have a little bit different response physically, emotionally, and spiritually to this matter than most people who are speaking on it. I'll say it like that. We've been chronicling the buildup to the preemptive strike that you all are now seeing and paying attention to. We've been covering that for years. So sometimes it's a little frustrating for me when people come and they're like, saying something that's totally off, right? Because like I said, I've been covering this. And then it's also frustrating when people, are like asking me what's going on at times, right? It's like, yeah, we've just been talking about this for a little while now, but I'm acting like people actually listen to me, right? But anyway, that's just my own internal frustration. Just had to get that out just very quickly, but I digress. Anyway, this is a perfect opportunity and a time to represent this and break this down. I've been actually given a lot more detail through the spirit and power of the Most High concerning this war and where it leads than in times past. So if you listen to tonight's breakdown, you'll hear a not a contradictory uh, breakdown, but additional information, right? More clarity being given in certain spots, particularly the nations of the dragons of Arabia that we're going to talk about in Second Esdras chapter 15, in the Carmanians, and also the flying swords and things of that nature. If you were to say, hey, I pulled up that breakdown that you did last year covering this, all right, and it sounds like you changed, or it sounds like you're saying something different. No, I'm saying the same thing, but from a different perspective, and that'll be made clear as we go on. But it's going to be a very powerful, I believe, presentation breakdown, more so of a breakdown than an actual typical news class. Typically, what we do in the news class is we synchronize current events to prophecy, right? And we do that for the purposes of clarity for the listener. Of course, I could come on and say, the Lord has told me this and the Lord has showed me this. And sometimes I will do that and just be done with the matter. But that would not edify anyone. So, what we do on a consistent basis is we come here and present this information, give you tangible videos and things like that to look at so that you can follow along with us biblically and also what I'm teaching you, right? So that is what the news is for. It's not for the purpose of scaring you or fear mongering. It's for the purpose of preparation in these times. And Lord willing, if you listen to this entire presentation, you should be well prepared mentally. All right. You should be well prepared spiritually if you have been walking according to the spirit and not the flesh. If you haven't been doing that, then this will jar you towards that end. So that is the purpose and the goal and the aim of this news class tonight. Okay. Let's go to Sirach chapter 39 and verse 1 and read that first. Sirach chapter 39 and verse 1.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 39 and verse 1.
Mhm.
But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies.
And be occupied in prophecy. The last, I would say, week, I just posted on my Facebook page that I feel like I've been in this trance, this meditative state, whereby I'm focusing solely on the chapter that we're going to dive into. and, of course, doing some intermittent fasting and things like that. So I've definitely condensed much learning, much understanding that I've received through the Spirit into this hopefully hour and a half long class. Right. So it's not an easy thing to do. So you have to bear with me if you know things are missed or if I'm going too fast. Please let me know. Okay? But it is a lot of information that I am trying to summarize. I could do multiple classes on this, but I want us to really. I just want the picture painted for us tonight. That's the goal. The goal is to paint the picture of what life is going to look like from now until this place receives its final condemnation. Okay, does that make sense? I just want to give us paint the picture, give us a snapshot, if you will, of what is going to happen from now until this place receives its final judgment. Okay. So that's what I've been doing the past week. It's been a very exciting week in the spirit for me. So let's get a good understanding of something. The war that is currently happening, developing, is detailed and chronicled in Second Esdras chapter 15, verses 28 through 37. And I've said that has been consistent for years. I've continued to say, as we've been talking about the Houthi rebels, and we've been talking about Hezbollah, right? Those that watch and follow the class consistently, how they are all coming against Israel, and it's being set up that way on purpose. And of course, Israel and the United States are vying for the oil there. That's all what this boils down to. This is the resource that the Lord is using to stir everything, to bring the kings of the earth against each other, to set them in array. It's just oil at the end of the day, right? Now, of course, there's other minerals and resources, technological races, but it all really comes down to the control of oil, right? The flow of oil. That is what makes the societies run. And so the kings of the earth feel like they have to have domination of the oil to have domination in other aspects of life. But and this is what the Lord is doing in the last days to cause what a lot of people are talking about to be World War III. Let me talk about World War III really quickly, by the way, because a lot of people are saying World War III, right? To be clear, the Bible doesn't say World War III. There is no term in the Bible that says World War One, World War II, or World War III. Okay? What what certain individuals have done, and I've actually blindly followed that teaching for a second, just because I was more so not concerned about it, but just kind of heard it in passing, is they use the three woes, excuse me, in Revelation, and they'll point to them and say, these are the world wars. All right. And no, they're not. They're just destructions that come from the Most High on the earth at specific times. And we'll break that down in the future. So that's where you would get that understanding. So brothers are using that terrible understanding in their breakdowns to like try to see where we are in prophecy in time and say, hey, we're in this seal and that seal. And you're basing it off these woes that are not world wars. All right. So number one, there's no such thing as world war anything. The kings of the earth are called to battle against each other, right? In several battles and that we're going to see in the future. But there's no world war technically in the Bible. Okay. Now, on a practical level, human beings have determined that we had a World War One, a World War Two, right? And we are going to have a World War III. A lot of predictions say. Okay. Um, what I try to teach people on that level is we've been in World War III. Been saying this ever since I would say the Ukraine Russia conflict, right? Because you have one side backing Russia, right? A block of the earth, the kings there, and that's going to be heavy in this class tonight. We're going to understand who the nations are that must be destroyed for coming against the children of Israel versus the nations who aren't coming against the children of Israel tonight. It's going to be a very heavy class, right? So, as I was saying, we've been in, if you want to technically go by the modern understanding of World War, we've been in World War III since Russia Ukraine, right? Because you had the two major blocks of the earth that are in support of either side. Okay, that is a conflict that has brought the nations together to say, hey, no, you're wrong, and then the other is saying, no, you're wrong. So war starts in the spirit. Okay? War begins, there's a spiritual conflict, and then it comes down to a verbal conflict, and then it digresses to the physical conflict. All right. So the spiritual conflict that the kings of the earth are waging is, and you can hear people like Vladimir Putin say things like this and other leaders, that the Americans and the Israelis, they're what? Satanists. Have y'all heard anybody say that? Any heads of state talk about that? I know we talked about that before. Brother Eli?
I've heard it before.
You know, Vladimir Putin has been very plain in saying that. So that is, they believe that the West, right, and they gave speeches on this, is the home, and they're rightly so, right? The home of the worst Satanists, right? Child sacrificers and all of this kind of stuff. And they believe that this is a cancer to the earth and must be rid. Okay? That's the spiritual conflict. It's like, hey, we don't like you guys morally. Right? We think you guys are wicked, and they're right. And then obviously, vice versa. No, you guys are the wicked ones. Look what you do. Right? So that's the spiritual war that begins. Then it descends into an economic situation whereby we're fighting for resources, we're fighting for lands, and things like that. All right. Some covertly, some overtly. But that's what happens next. And that's what was going on with Russia, Ukraine. We're talking about land, we're talking about resources. The propaganda has spun it as if it was Russia who sought the aggression because they want to take over Ukraine. Right. In fact, it was not that. It was something that the U.S. has done consistently. Right. And we're going to talk about that, Lord willing. Hopefully, I don't forget tonight. What they do is they pretend to make a deal. They come to the negotiating table and then they strike you. That's what they do. They come to the negotiating table. This is what they did with Iran. They come to the negotiating table and they say, hey, we're going to make a deal. And then both sides are like, cool, we're going to make a deal. But they just want you to let your guard down. And then they strike you and say, you're the boogeyman and you're the devil. Right? So this is what I want to convey before we actually start the lesson, is that if you're like a World War IIIer, we're already in World War III. It's already happening. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Now, we're going to talk about this specific war that is taking place now. Now, I titled it, I forget the exact title, right? I think it was the war with the U.S. and Iran, just to make sure that everyone understood the topic of what we're going into. So that war, as I said before, is currently developing. Number one, it has not even gone fully kinetic as it will. It's not at the stage. I want to be clear. It's not at the stage yet that we're going to read about tonight, but it is quickly heading there. Right? We know that this is that situation because we've been chronicling it. I had a class. It was a news class. It was called the powder keg. The powder keg is about to explode. That was the name of the class. When we talked about this situation, we had another couple classes like that too. Right. So this is what I want to establish. This war that we're going to read about in a second. That's going to be later in class because we have to understand something else first. Right. It has not reached this point yet, but it is escalating there, and it could be any day now at this point, to be quite frank. All right, so let's start off in the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, and we're gonna go right from the top.
This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, and verse 1.
Mhm.
Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the
Mhm.
sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled.
Stop right there. So before we get into the actual lesson, we need to get a good, solid understanding of something. The Lord is destroying this place. He's going to bring plagues upon this place, is bringing plagues upon this place for its wickedness. And when I mean this place, it says the entire earth. We need to understand that what we are seeing is the wrath of God here. Everything that you see that is terrible, that is named here, these plagues, let's read these plagues. Okay? The plagues of sword, famine, death, and destruction. Got to talk about that for a second. Okay? These plagues are no joke. They're called plagues. But the sword is a plague from God. What is that talking about? What is the sword? That would be war, war itself. People get shot, right, with guns and different types of drones being dropped. That is the sword of the Lord. Does that make sense? That's what that means. Then he says he's going to bring what else? Famine. Famine. So famine, of course, is when there's a lack of food, there's a lack of bread. Starvation. Starving to death is a very terrible thing. You just pine away. Okay. So this is a plague when you see starvation rise. That's the Lord punishing the earth for its wickedness. I have to make sure I say these things because there are some people that might come here in the future and watch these videos and say, why would a God do that? Right? What kind of God would allow all of these things? Y'all brothers might know or hear people talk like that. Oh, I don't believe in God or I don't deal with God because why would he allow these wicked things to happen? That is the way that he punishes the earth for its exceeding wickedness. All right, it's wickedness that knows no bounds. Everything that God has said that we should not do has been glorified and magnified in the earth. And everything that God says that we should do has been diminished. And so this is the Lord's time to shine, to balance the scales here, because he's had enough of his word being trampled underfoot. So it's very important to know as we go through the lesson that the purpose for all of what we're about to read is for man's wickedness, his immorality. And so everything that we're reading is just and deserved from that vantage point. We should not complain about it, is what I'm saying. Very important to know that. The next thing, death. He's going to bring death. Now, that in and of itself should perplex you. Both the other things, of course, result in death, right? But death itself, if you read the book of Revelation, you'll see is an actual spirit. There's an actual spirit of death. Okay, that comes down. So that's on a spiritual level and it's on a physical level. Okay. So death in and of itself is coming. Now, what does that look like? Death looks like when you take that stuff and put it in that syringe and make people get shot with that. I have to talk like this for YouTube. That's what death looks like. And now you have millions of people who are deceased from crazy looking blood clots. Okay? We haven't, it's been a while since we talked about that. I remember I was called a false prophet by, a couple of prominent individuals in the Israelite community over this issue. And they were saying things like, there's not a conspiracy in those shots, and I'm gonna get me one, and you guys are scared, and I said millions of people are gonna die from these things, and we have all the tangible evidence and proof. If anyone is looking for it, all you have to do is ask. All you have to do is look up excess deaths. Very easy. All right. The coroners, the insurance companies, they're telling you the story. All right. So we're finding massive worm-looking blood clots in the deceased now. This has never happened before in the history of Earth, people are saying. So we have the tangible proof that those things do cause and is causing mass death, and people don't even realize it today. Right? But there will be more. There will be another that will this what we just went through will pale in comparison to. Okay? So that is what death looks like. Mass death. Because silly people don't think for themselves. So they're easily wiped out. Okay? So that's another plague from the Most High. Keep this in mind as we move along in tonight's class. And then it says, and destruction. Right? So destruction is buildings collapsing, highways collapsing, trains being derailed, planes crashing. Right? That's what destruction looks like. Bombs hitting these places. That is what the Lord means. He's going to punish it. Now I'm reading on. It says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. So it describes wickedness as a pollution. Look, good God. Like, think about that. I want you guys to imagine this. The imagery needs to be there. That's why we do the classes too. I want you to imagine and picture what the Bible is saying. Wickedness has polluted the whole earth. Think about pollution. All right, what do we think about when we think about pollution? Do we not think about trash, right? Being on the sidewalks and things like that? Do we not think about the oil being dumped in the oceans? Think about pollution. The Lord says wickedness has polluted the whole earth. So now even the earth is deemed wicked, which is why you'll read in certain prophecy, if you read your Bible regularly, passages where it says, what did the trees do? Right? What did the fish do? They've been polluted by the wickedness of man. And it says, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. The Lord is the kind of judge that allows wickedness to increase to a certain point, and then he pours out his destruction. Then he judges for it. That's why he's described as long suffering, patient, long suffering with mankind. He never just punishes you for one little transgression. He's not a petty God, as some people would paint him. Some people do paint the Lord, my God, as petty for the things and the judgments that they see in the scripture. Oh, he's not petty. He's long suffering. He allows you to do your thing for a specific amount of time, then he'll tap you and say, hey, stop doing that. And then you'll say, "Ow, that hurt." And then you'll forget that pain that you had because it's not that much. And then you'll go back to it again, and then it'll hit you a little bit harder, and you'll say, "Oh, that really hurt." And you say, "Yeah, stop doing that." And then you might say, "Okay, I'm sorry," for a little while. I won't ever do that again. Some of y'all might know this when you're like an alcoholic or a drug addict, and you'll be like, "Lord, if you just get me out this situation, I promise I'll never drink again." All right. Y'all know about them people, right? Maybe some of y'all was that.
Right. Right.
Right. This is how the Lord is. You pleading with him and he's saying, okay. But how much grace do you think you deserve? And the thing about the Lord being the judge is you don't know when that runs out, which is why you shouldn't play with God. You don't know the time limit that you have. But what you can rest assured is that the Lord has been long suffering and merciful. This for thousands of years. All of these prophecies that we're going to read, these were written thousands of years ago. And we're in the time now where he's doing the judgments that we're reading. That's why it's the most spectacular time to be alive. All the end time stuff that you read about in scripture is currently being fulfilled. So we're due this moment. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for themselves. All right. So reading on, it says, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. That means people are proud about it, right? People are like, yeah, F God. All right, that's what he means. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Meaning he's not going to allow you to sit back and continue to run child trafficking rings, right? He's not going to sit back and just continue to allow you to run drug trafficking rings. He's not going to just allow you to just sit back and enslave people, right? He's not going to continue to allow extortion of the resources of the earth. Just to name a few. He's watching this. Imagine the Lord is watching people do this every day for 1,000 years. Like, you don't think that he, in his almightiness, is ready now or should have the opportunity now to rectify his situation that he set up? Let me clean my stuff up real quick now. I want it to look nice again. You have to understand it from the Most High's perspective. It's cleaning up the place, and it looks like destruction. Right? That's why there's a need for a new heaven and a new earth, because this one is polluted. Right? This one is polluted. So, reading on, it says, Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. What is that talking about? This is where the prophecy turns spiritual. Right? So he talks about what the destruction is going to be on the earth, but this is where the prophecy shifts to the spirit, to the spiritual world where he dwells, where it says, the souls of the just crieth out and complain to me continually. Right? What is that? Anybody does that remind you of anything? Does that jar anybody's memory on a certain situation?
Yeah, Adam. Well, Cain and Abel.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Cain and Abel. Go and get that from me. It says the Cain's blood crieth from the earth. Excellent.
So like you said get the
If
Cain
you
and
can
Abel.
find it. Yeah. You called it out. See if you can find it now. This is an example. See if I find it before you. I think it's 6.
Let me see. Okay, Genesis 4.
Or
Let me see. I'm gonna start at verse
10.
8.
Okay.
Okay, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Get to it.
said, "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground."
You see that? This is what this is going into. The souls of the just. That's a good example. All right, but I'm going to give you guys another example of what that looks like. This turns highly spiritual right now. So now we know that we can affirm that this wickedness has been built up over a long time. Watch this. Go to Revelation chapter 6. I believe I want you to start at verse 9.
All right. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God
Mm-hmm.
and for the testimony which they held.
Read.
And verse 10, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?"
Does that sound familiar? Don't that just sound like what we just read? I'll read it again. All right. I will hold my tongue no more touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Y'all see that correlation right there? I want to make sure I walk through this real slow. I want this to be super clean for everybody. All right? So I'm showing you all, like Second Esdras, the chapters 11 through 16 are my absolute favorite prophetic chapters in the entire Bible. Because they encompass pretty much everything in times until the return of Christ. All right? In those brief chapters, and they expound upon certain ones. So I'll be able to, from this chapter, go all over the place and connect the dots. All right. So I'm showing you that this turns spiritual. The Lord is now saying, hey, these just ones are complaining continually. Right? And so that's brothers can know what seals and stuff we are. And that's why you hear brothers break down stuff like this. Okay. So I want to stay on point, but this is turning spiritual now. Now the Lord is giving the spiritual reason why. So when people say, hey, why would the Lord do this? And why would the Lord let this happen? Well, what if they kill somebody innocent, right? In this life or a past one? I hope that didn't throw a lot of people off. But if it did, I don't care, right? And the souls of the innocent are complaining continually. All right. What if that is the reason why? Little man, you don't even know what's going on to be saying things and replying against the Most High and the way that he operates and why he's doing what it is that he's doing. Right? Who are you? So I just wanted to make sure that we honor the Most High and his decision to destroy the earth. So then it says, I will avenge them speedily, saith the Lord, and will require the innocent blood from their hands. Because if it's one thing that the Lord hates in the Bible, right, that is up there, it's the shedding of innocent blood. It is the shedding of innocent blood. That is, maybe I would say, definitely the top 5, but maybe the top 3 things that the Lord hates most. So the shedding of innocent blood, think about it. How often do we see that happening? So that explains both cases. It explains why babies, get murdered. All right, from that perspective, hey, they're innocent, yeah, and the Lord has to now avenge that innocent baby. So it's that perspective. But then on the baby's perspective, well, what happened to the baby? Well, maybe 1 or 2 generations ago, that baby was a murderer, right? Because it's the soul that enters human flesh and inhabits it. So the human flesh isn't the same. The soul is the same that is imparted onto or into, however you look at it, the body. Right? So he's talking about the souls here complaining. So we know souls can complain on high after they die too. Sidebar. But these are the things that I need you guys to start imagining. Okay? And it says he's going to avenge them. Okay, now read verse 10.
In Second Esdras,
Mm-hmm.
it's the book of Second. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, and now verse 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof.
So now we transition in the prophecy from a spiritual place back to the earth. He now goes back. So now you guys have to understand how prophecy flows. You can't just read it and just think it's one thing. Like you have to understand these things. Like what I just showed y'all. Hopefully you understand how deep that was. Going from there and linking that to Revelation, and now we're back here talking about his people being led as sheep to the slaughter. Okay, and we're gonna link this up too. And then he says he's not going to suffer them. So now we have to understand the destruction and the plagues also are not only for the innocents being vindicated that have been killed by ravenous beasts, but also because what? The children of Israel have been what? Led astray and devoured and oppressed in the land of Egypt. All right. So now we have to understand this. This is also the reason why this destruction is happening. It's because God's chosen. It's a huge thing. So who the people are is a huge deal. That's why it's a big deal. Tucker Carlson. That's why it's a big deal. Mike Huckabee. That's why it's a big deal. Everybody else. It's because all of this destruction is happening in part on a physical level. Actually, really, that's like the main thing because of the oppressed children of Israel. Okay? That's why it's important to know who the people are. But he says he's not going to allow that to continue. Now, what you have to understand here is that this is in the context of Jacob's trouble. This is in the context of Jacob's trouble here. Right? So he sees our oppression. And this is why we went into that. Now, if you've been watching the news and keeping up with us, you know that we're talking about Jacob's trouble quite a bit. You know, my life directly is a part of the reflection of Jacob's trouble, right? So this is in that context. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. It's talking about us being killed all the day long in this time period. The Lord is seeing that. Okay. So he says he's going to deliver us out of Egypt by smiting it with plagues as before. Do y'all understand? Right? That's how we're going to. Does everybody understand that's how we're going to get delivered out of Egypt? He's going to deliver us by smiting Egypt with plagues as before. And in the end of class, we'll get more specific on that. But notice it don't say spaceships. You understand? Don't say we're going to get beamed up into chariots. Notice it doesn't say that. So continue to read.
Verse 11. Well, Salakia, verse 12.
Yeah, read verse 11 again. That's good.
Verse 11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof.
See that? Read on.
Verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it.
Mm-hmm.
They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that
Stop right there.
dwell therein.
Stop right there. Stop right there. You're good. I'm reading from a different version, so I was a little confused. But nevertheless, what I want to highlight here in this portion that we just read is the destruction of the foundations of America via, and why am I saying America? Let me stop right here for new listeners. Well, it says Egypt, it doesn't say America. I'll briefly help you out. Okay. The Bible doesn't say America. America obviously is not written or spoken in that time. So what the Bible does in prophetic terms is it assigns the name of the place it's talking about by a character trait of the word. Right? So you have to understand what the word means to understand how it is in fact talking about America and not Egypt. There's other ways as well, but I want to just give you the simple way, right? For now. So Egypt is a word that means between two straits or stuck between two straits. All right. The understanding of that is bondage. You're in a captive state. Okay. Go to Exodus chapter 20 and read verse 2.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
See that? Out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So this is why it is termed what it's termed now. Okay. Egypt, meaning bondage. And as you can see in that scripture, the Lord's people are in bondage and he wants to free them. So that's why that word is being used. But it says he's going to destroy Egypt with plagues as before. So he wants future Egypt to understand this is how he's going to destroy you for what you've done to his people. All right. Through the transatlantic slave trade. All right. This, all of that. He's going to punish you for that. He's going to destroy all the land that you hold dear. Right? The land of the free, the home of the brave. It's going to be destroyed by the Lord first. And then we'll talk about the other nations that will also destroy it afterwards. We'll set up the opportunity for everyone else. Okay. So let's read Revelation 11 and 8. Revelation 11 and 8.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
See that? Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, that great city. Okay. So this is where I would get that understanding. In a nutshell, I want to continue on. So let me continue, find my space. What I want to make sure we understand is that the Lord God Almighty hates this place more than any other place in history, more than Sodom and Gomorrah. I need you guys to understand that. He hates this place. He hates the inhabitants of this place as well, those who are wicked. He's hateful of them. And he is going to destroy them for their wickedness. America is, in scripture, the epicenter, the root of all wickedness that has permeated throughout the earth. So earlier when we read that wickedness has polluted the whole earth, America is the source of the pollution. America is where the pollution begins. This is the most awful place that has ever existed from a moral perspective. Just think about how it was established. It was established based off of lies, deceit, and innocent blood. So even the very establishing of it, we're taught in school that it was these brave men that came and civilized the people, and then well, we did have to conquer them and take them over. I had a fifth grade teacher, I'll never forget his name, Mr. Rufus. Right, I did very well in his history class, but he was just 100 with it. He just said, I'm glad we did that. I'm glad we came and did that to the Indians and took over. He kept it clean. He didn't make any bones about it. That was his position, and it was so clean that at the time I didn't even understand what the problem with it was. It was just like, oh, well, we did that, and then we just moved on, right? So even at that time, it was seventh grade. Even at that time, we're hearing the propaganda and the brainwashing and the desensitization, I think that's a word, of how terrible this place is from a moral perspective. And I just talked about the very inception of it. Then they got the transatlantic slave trade going to enslave the rest of the children of Israel. Southern Kingdom. So this is what the Bible is talking about when it says he's going to punish it. The foundations. It says the foundations of it. All right. You got something?
Yeah. What's so crazy about this topic, big bro, is that right before I got home, I was literally having a conversation with my coworker, and he was asking like, what's so different about America and basically every other place on the earth. I said, well, to be quite honest, America is like, it has all the wrong things of it from everywhere else. It's like it's the worst place that you could possibly be from a moral standpoint. And he was like, well, every other place has homosexuality, and every other place, commits adultery, but every other place, well, yeah, sure, every other place, sure, there are people that commit adultery, but here in America, it's worshipped, it's promoted. In other places like the Middle East, you get beheaded for adultery. You get beheaded for homosexuality. Like, America is by far the worst place on the earth. And that was our conversation today.
Wow. Very, very powerful information. I thank you for sharing that with us. That's the spirit moving. So this is exactly why this place has to go, for what it has done and perpetuated. Okay? So it says the foundations of it shall be smitten. Now, when we think about what's the foundations are literally what hold the place together. It's talking about like below the crust. All right. It's talking about America being broken. Okay. You can see prophecies of America, going through massive earthquakes, right? And going into the sea and things of that nature. So these are the kinds of things that are going to happen to America. All right. And the prophecy will go into that. These rainstorms and earthquakes and that Christ talks about. These are going to what it says? It says it's going to smite the foundation. All right. So the very foundation of America is going to be destroyed by the Lord's wrath upon it. All right. Something that we should take note of. This is what's coming here. Read verse 11 again for me.
It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof.
Maybe we missed it right here. We get brought out with the mighty hand and the stretched out arm before he brings these plagues to it. Did you just read that?
Yes, sir.
It didn't say before, though. That's the only word I added. But we missed that point. The Exodus takes place before these plagues come upon it. Hebrew Israelite teachers everywhere. Okay? Please understand this point. Please start teaching it this way because that is what the scripture says. All right. Not because I just said it, because I just read it. All right. That was a bar too, by the way. But I digress. This is why Revelation 18, which we're going to go to, says what? Come out of her, my people, that ye receive not of her plagues. Don't we read that all the time? All right, so we're going to talk about how this pertains to the Exodus tonight and what that looks like. Okay? We've gotten a lot of bad information in particularly the Israelite community on how these things are going to transpire. And these things spark, unnecessary, ignorant conversations about who can and cannot be saved. You're all basing it off of like prophecies like Revelation 11, which you clearly don't understand is talking about. I just have to be blunt and say it, okay? Because this is our channel, so I can say it here. Probably wouldn't say it on your channel. And say it here. You guys, when I hear you, I just shake my head a lot of y'all and just say these guys they're trying. They're trying. All right. I digress. So we're at verse 13, all right?
Yes.
Oh, we're at verse 14. We're at verse 14.
Verse 14. Woe to the world and them
Actually,
that dwell.
excuse me. Let me stop you there. Read that in the GNT. Start reading in the GNT.
All right.
To verse 19.
This is 1 second. This is Second Esdras, chapter 15, and verse 15?
Well, it starts off about woe to the world. So if that's 14, if it says destruction there for the world.
Okay. Verse 14 in the GNT. I have the GNTA. That's how it came up on my phone.
Okay. Does it say that?
The world and the people in it are doomed.
Yep. That's what I want you to read. Read that again.
All praises. This is Second Esdras chapter 15 and verse 14 in the GNTA. It reads, the world and the people in it are doomed.
The war. So this is right after that. Now he transitions from, hey, I'm doing this for the spiritual reasons, the soul's complaining. I'm doing this to deliver my people out of this land of Egypt and smite it with plagues. And now it's about to go into, this is where the prophecy shifts to, okay, now I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm going to do it. Right? Or the process to that. So here the prophecy, the first few verses says, hey, I'm the Lord. I'm giving you this prophecy. I'm going to destroy the earth. He kind of summarizes what he's going to do. And then he goes into detail. So I want people to understand this is how prophecy flows and works. So you can't just read it like it's going in order. Right? It can go in and out of time. It can start a place and then go to a future place and then come back to that place that it was before. It can be talking about something that is happening in the spirit world and transition to something that's happening in the physical world, as we just read. This is how prophecy works. So you can't just look at it and think, I can just read it verbatim and apply it how I apply it, and it is what it is. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Hopefully, I'm showing you. So now this is going to transition into what he was saying and talking about in verse, I believe, 5. Yes. When he talks about verse 5, read verse 5 again.
Verse 5. The Lord says, I am going to bring terrible disasters on the whole world, war and famine, death, and destruction.
All right, that's in the GNT. So now jump back to our verse.
This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and verse 5 in the regular
No.
KJV 8.
No. The previous verse where it
Oh,
says, "Woe, the world is
bad.
doomed." Mhm.
Verse 14. The world and the people in it are doomed.
See that? So now it's telling you how they're doomed based off of these destructions and the famine and the death. Now it's just going into that now. All right. I just want people to be able to follow. Go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 15. The war that will bring their destruction is very near.
You see that? Now stop right there. It says the war that will bring their destruction is very near. So it's not at that point yet. All right. So it's also talking about a specific war. All right. So now also, who is the there? Does it say the there? Who are we just talking about before? We were just talking about Egypt, right? It's talking about them, their destruction. So you have to, yeah. Did you understand that?
Yeah, I
can see
get
your
that.
face. Okay. So when it says the world and their destruction draweth nigh, the world that bringeth their destruction is here. It's almost here. So what I'm trying to show you is it's going to go into that war. That's the war that we're going to talk about tonight. But read that verse one more time.
Verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
The world and the people in it are doomed.
Mm-hmm.
The war that will bring their destruction is very near.
Okay.
Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations.
Mm-hmm.
There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control, while ignoring the legitimate government.
Now I want to stop there. And the reason why I said to keep America in mind is because nobody thinks this stuff can happen here. Everybody that's looking and watching right now, you might have that inclination, but people outside of who normally would watch this, they don't think that this is happening in America. The text right above it talked about America. We just broke down. So America is included in the destruction and devastation that's going to come upon the whole earth, and specifically in matters of war. I know Pete Hegseth saying everything is good. We only lost 6 people. They're going to be avenged, and Iran can't do anything. I know he sits a queen and is no widow. But the war that bringeth the end is nigh. America at the head of that. So now read that again.
Verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control,
How many? Go ahead.
While ignoring the legitimate government.
Do not we see that? And just in America. We've been chronicling that in the news class. The Democrat and Republican Party, literally at the point of assassination attempts and successful attempts at each other. This is what we're seeing right here. That's what this looks like. We're at this point in time. So this is how we know the Great War, that is the end that everyone is drawing near at this point. This should remind brothers that have been here of Matthew 24, right? When it says you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes, and all these things. And it says these are the beginnings of sorrows. It's the beginning of these plagues that the Most High is putting on the earth. Okay? So we have to recognize here at this point in time that we are in this position within the prophecy. I want to I want to give a couple facts real quick over here. Excuse me. Let me see if I put that down. I had a link somewhere. I had a link where I pulled up how many civil wars there are and how many political unrest there are. I can't find it right now, but you can look it up for yourself. All right, you don't have to take me up at my word. But there was between 30 and 35 civil wars as of 2026 today, right now. All right, across the world. That's how people are at civil war. We're in America where we're just on our social media looking at funny jokes and going to work and stuff like that. Like, no, there's 35 countries who are in full-fledged civil war. 30 to 35. A lot of them are in Africa. Right? It was like between 60 and 65 countries who are going through major political protest. Okay? Major political protest. So think about that. About 100 countries around the world fit this criteria. So this is happening right now, and they're fighting over what the legitimacies of governments. And then when I tell you guys Obama is going to come back and be the last president, then you guys will say to me, well, he can't do that because of this third term constitutional thing. Well, constitutions are meant to be broken. Right? Constitution and rules just aren't your civil liberties meant to be broken? American citizen, have you not experienced that? Civil liberties and the Constitution and what can and cannot be. These things have a tendency to just kind of change as the situation presents themselves, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If all of these countries are going through war and turmoil, and I've talked to you about martial law and what that means, and how there's suspended elections, and you can't wrap your mind around that. I know it's prophetic, but still, just the rebuttal of he can't because you're wrong. Like, I don't mind if you say I'm wrong, but I just don't like when people say I'm wrong and it's for a stupid reason. A reason that does not, I mean, I'm sorry I have to say it like that, but a reason that doesn't make sense. Things are changing rapidly all the time. You didn't think that a non-licensed government agency could come in your state and snatch people out of stores either, did you? Did you think that was possible? Did you see that one coming? This has to be, and then people like, this has to be unconstitutional. And then we have had a third term president before, FDR. Right? That's happened before. But anyways, that's not even the point. The point that I want to make is that this is where we are in the process of second edgers. Now, we're getting towards the war. We're getting towards the actual meat and potatoes. If you're just joining us, you haven't even missed the main part, but you've missed a lot, but you haven't missed, the main part. You definitely want to go back and check out that you have missed. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 17. There will no longer be free access to the cities. Because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live.
You see that? I like how that sounds. Right? I'm not saying I like how it sounds because of what's happening, because it so clearly articulates what is happening and what's going to continue to happen and why it's happening. Can you read that again? It sounded so amazing. Right.
Yep. Verse 17. There will no longer be free access to the cities because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live.
You see that? Wherever people live. And this is why I was telling people about the destruction and things of that nature being concentrated on the big cities, on the major cities, because that's where most people live. All right. So you're seeing it there. And it's going to be because of this legislative power. Now you're seeing that already in the US, states against states, right? What kind of power does the Fed have? And we're going to separate and all of this kind of stuff. So you're not going to be able to have access to every city like that. So we have to think about that as a community, right? Some of you all are in Ohio. Some of us here are in Florida, so forth and so on. All right. So what we have to do is we have to consider this. We have to consider that we're not going to always have access. And so we shouldn't be frustrated, number one, when we don't have the access. We shouldn't be freaking out like, man, we can't get to here and we can't get to there. And you need to start putting together a plan of action as to what you're going to do if you guys do get disconnected. That's what needs to happen. The Bible is telling you it's going to happen. So then you don't, like, if you're wise, you don't wait until it happens to then complain about it and talk about what are we going to do and sulk. That's what the classes are for. You've had time mentally and spiritually to prepare, and physically to prepare for what to do. Okay, so that's just a gem that I hope people will pick up. So the cities are going to be troubled. And go ahead and continue to read.
Verse 19.
Mhm.
Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions.
You see that? So notice I'm not talking about the war yet. We're getting to the war. We're getting there. The scripture is going to get there. Okay. But we're not there yet. That's why I said we're not even in the war that I'm about to say technically yet. But we are, because the actions are unfolding. Okay. So before what we read happens, all of these things are going to start to transpire. We can already start to see the economy starting to teeter totter. We can see President Trump saying, well, this, prices might go up for a little bit, but we'll get them back straight, So you're going to start seeing these things happen. What if the government shuts down? Because what's happening now economically is this war is costing the United States taxpayer $1 billion per day. This war with Iran and defending Israel, they're shooting all these missiles and these drones and things like that, and having to protect Israel. Right? With this technology, it costs the taxpayer $1 billion per day. Okay, so we already have a financial crisis on our hands, do we not? Do we not have inflation? Do we not have low jobs? Is it not taking over the jobs? Right? So we already have that wage crisis. And then now on top of that, here comes inflation. Remember, this is the plagues of the Lord. These are the plagues of the Lord. Inflation on top of that. So what does that look like? Starvation, homelessness, people robbing, looting because they have no food. I'm driving around, and y'all pray for me. And in Orlando, I'm seeing more and more people just bold walking up to the car knocking. Got a couple dollars. It used to be where they just would hold their hat out, They kind of hold their hat out and say, hey, can you give me some money? I'm asking for some change. I got a sign out there that say, kind of need some help. I'm jammed up right now. I'm a former veteran, right? Things like that. No, brothers coming up, brolic, not gonna, you got a couple dollars. So they kind of not asking you. You see what I'm saying? On the road, they at red lights. Lock your doors when you're on the road. I don't care how big and bad you are. It only take a split second of you not paying attention. This is a note to self.
Mm-hmm.
Lock your door, right? Because things are picking up. And so people, like, the more inflation rises, you should understand hunger is rising at the same time too. because people have to make decisions between getting food or getting gas to get to work so that you can keep the lights on to buy food. So that means, well, since I need to keep the lights on to buy food, I just have to steal my food for today. We understand how that works? And it's easy to get there. Very easy to get there. Okay. So this is what's going to increase. Okay. And that's why it says that we are doomed. Remember, though, we deserve this for our wickedness, earth and the people therein. Don't forget that. This is where people start to feel bad for themselves. Like, oh man, what are we going to do? Bear with me real quick. I got to get my charger. Sorry.
And for those who are on the YouTube, might as well go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you have not. That way, when we do go live, you can be notified. Thank you.
All right, all praise. Appreciate that. Sorry, had to get charged up. So, as I was saying, we are deserving of this. Okay, but if you are righteous, if you are striving to keep the laws of God and have faith in Christ, you will be preserved through these said perils. Second Esdras goes on to say. Okay. So you should not worry. You should not fret. See, I have to reinforce. I'm not fear mongering, guys. If you are doing the right thing, if you are not the wicked, you will be preserved. Okay. You will be protected. You need not worry. You need not fear. The Lord will be your guide. Okay? He's the guide of all those that keep his commandments, as the next chapter says. Okay? But as we continue on, the text is going to tell you who should be deathly afraid of what we're reading now. Go ahead and keep reading. Or go back to the King James now.
All right, this is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, in the King James or the KJV version, and verse 20. Behold, saith God, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them.
You see that? That they have done to them. They have done to who? The chosen. That's who it's talking about. So what I'm reinforcing here is this principle of this divine judgment that's going to come on the nations or on the kings and the nobles of the earth who did the conspiracy to oppress the Israelites. That's what the Bible is talking about, not all of its citizens. Keep on trying to reinforce that, and I'm going to have to do an entire class on it because it's crystal clear in all the scriptures that people even go to. When you read the context, he's calling the kings of the earth against one another for what they have done. The citizens aren't in on that. They're not at the round table. Now, does the judgment of the kings affect them and their economies and their daily life, right? And the destruction that comes? Some of them die. Yes, of course. That's how they participate in the judgment. It's not like, hey, so you all go in chains. That's not what the Bible is talking about. Okay, please, for the love of God, let's get this together. Okay, so he says he's going to call the kings of the earth to reverence him, to turn on each other. So what he's saying is he's bringing them all together to war against them, to war. Well, on the physical level, they're going to war against each other, and that's the Lord warring against them. Does that make sense? All right, all praises. Just want to make sure that people are following you. A lot of information. We are an hour and 10 minutes in, or hour and 20 minutes in. Brothers, okay? No?
Yep.
All right. Brother Eli, you still with us? All right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All praises. All right. So, I want to go ahead and kind of speed things up. Been going, through the spirit, but I do want to speed things up. We have quite a bit to get through. So please bear with me for another. Let's see where we are in another 40 minutes. Another 40 minutes, and we're gonna try to stop. If I have to come back and do a part 2, we can do that. All right, but I don't want to rush this either. I don't want to rush it. This is very important information that needs to come out. So you guys gonna have to be patient. Let's go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord God.
You see that? Yet have they done to my chosen. The kings of the earth are the ones that God is punishing for what they have done to the chosen. So please, all Hebrew Israelites that street teach, please teach it like this, because that is what the Bible is saying. Okay? Yeah, you guys have to switch to teaching it like this right here. He's punishing the kings of the earth for what they have done to the chosen. It's not talking about Becky, Bob, and Sue at your job, all right, that fired you because you're black. That's not what the Bible is talking about. Okay, it's way bigger than your personal little situation. All right, this is on a way higher level than that. Now that doesn't mean that the wicked who have shed innocent blood aren't going to be punished. The text is about to go and say that. Right? So it is talking like the individuals that need to be deathly afraid that I said we're going to read about. We're going to address them. But number one, when the Bible is talking about the judgment of nations, it's talking about the kings of the earth, right? And their conspiracy and their plot. Keep reading.
Verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth.
You see that? So all those who are hardcore sinners, right, and shedding innocent blood, you should be deathly afraid of these plagues that are coming on the earth. They're for you. Right? They're to consume you. You shed innocent blood. That's on any level. A local like Bill Sue at the barbershop. If not only did they fire you, but they then went down, hunted you down, and gunned you down, right? Yes, this is for them too. Okay, this is for the lynch mobs and all of those types of people. Okay, that they get their judgment in this too. It's right here. But notice what's at the top. Notice what the Lord is addressing head on as is concerned, the kings of the earth. And then he addresses everybody else. And this is including Israelite and non-Israelite alike. If you are a murderer, right? If you are any of these things that the Lord is listing here, evildoers, these plagues are for you. Right? So you have to think about how many wicked people you know. Just like think about it, like from your own opinion, your own vain opinion. How many wicked people do you know? I know some wicked people, right? Who just are saying, I'm a YN, and I'm just gonna go and take people's lives when I feel like it because it's Thursday and I want to get my respect in the hood. Those individuals are going to be out of here soon. Okay, those kinds of people. That's what the Bible is talking about, for example. And it's talking about the people who put massive drugs in shots and make people take them. They also are among those that are the shedding of innocent blood. They're going to be destroyed too. These people should be deathly afraid. Go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 23. The fire is gone forth from his wrath, and hath consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straw that is kindled. Woe to them that sin, and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children. From the power defile not my sanctuary. For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction.
Read.
For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For God shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him.
So now he's addressing the sinners. He's saying, hey, the destruction and everybody being doomed is in context of the sinners. That's what he does in the prophecy, right? So he says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Or in the GNT, it says, everybody's doomed, right? And then he says that as a general statement, and then he clarifies who's doomed specifically and for what reasons, right? The kings of the earth, because of what they've done to the chosen people of God, and then the wicked of the earth and the evildoers for the shedding of innocent blood. So there's going to be a great death that happens on the earth. Some of your favorite people are going to just drop dead. That's what this looks like. All right, so I'm saying it, and it sounds terrible, but it's the truth, and I want you to hear it raw and uncut, so that way you can prepare for it. Your favorite people just out of here. All right? Favorite people, goners. That's tough. Now I want us to get to the war. We're at a minute. I'm saying a minute. We're at an hour and 27 minutes. All right? I want us to now get to the war. We have to preface that though. All right? The rest of it's going to be really good. Brother Eli, if you could cue up that video. I want us to start with the truth. I want us to start with the truth about this war, okay, that's being waged and the reality of it. So this is Colonel Douglas Macgregor. This is someone I've played in our news clips many times. He has a long track record of being all things military to the United States, but he calls it how he sees it. You can look him up. Very credible guy. And he tells the truth about the state of America and the world, and particularly its military. So oftentimes I'll go to him because he's an excellent source for truthful information and not propaganda that you're going to see on CNN. So as it pertains to this war, I want us to start by hearing this clip, okay? Because it's also prophetic in that he's correct, biblically speaking. All right, so let's go ahead and play this clip.
Unfortunately, if you object to waging war with uncertain purpose and unattainable goals, then you're viewed as a traitor. I mean, that's obviously, you don't support what's right and good. But I think Americans are smarter than Washington thinks. And I'll be frank, I don't think this is going to lead anywhere. I don't think President Trump is going to tow the battleship Missouri into the Persian Gulf and then repaint the name on the Missouri to the USS Trump and hold a surrender ceremony there for the Iranians.
Stop right there. So basically, he's being sarcastic at this point. That's where I picked up in his interview. He's being sarcastic about people attacking him and saying he's a traitor for telling the truth about what's going on in the war there, and how this is not going to be a quick battle. The U.S. can't really win this war. There's not any clear objectives there. And these are actually the real numbers and things like that. and then he kind of transitions into the fact that, hey, Trump isn't going to be over to overcome Iran in a few days. That's why he's saying I don't think he's going to go and give the unconditional surrender via the Navy. Like he's talking big, like we've done something. That's not happening. So he's starting off being sarcastic about the position that the United States is currently in this war. It is not a winnable war, right? Victory will not be declared in a week. Go ahead and keep playing.
I hope we can get out of this without ending up in a major war with Russia and China, without blowing up the entire region. The entire region is pretty much blown up as it is. But I think what's going to happen is that over the next several weeks, war fatigue is going to set in. I think we will take more casualties than we've taken thus far. And I think President Trump may be in real trouble. He may not finish his term. He may end up no longer being president by the time the war ends, however it ends.
Stop right there.
So maybe you can.
Did y'all hear it? Did y'all hear that? So I don't have to. Like, I say these things. I've been teaching these things, but now you hear somebody else say it, right? He doesn't proclaim to be a prophet or anything else like that. Then don't we? Haven't we talked about the demise of President Trump? Right? Haven't we chronicled them trying to take him out over the years? Haven't we done that? Right? So he's saying, hey, I don't see it going well. Right? I don't see him finishing his term. I don't see that happening. The whole region is already, I just hope, he's saying, I just hope we can avoid war with China and Russia. I just hope that. It's going to be a regional war. We talked about these things. Go ahead and keep playing.
Beyond what you've already said here, where do things stand on the Israeli side? Are they, CNN is not allowed to show us, Fox News is not allowed to show us, RT got shut down from showing us what's actually happening inside of Israel, bombing attacks inside of Israel. What do we know about the Iranian capacity at this point? Are they sitting back? As Professor Marandi in Tehran has said this morning, the Iranians are using basically some of their old missiles. They haven't even really used some of their most advanced stuff yet, and they're sort of sitting back.
Stop right there. So I wanna address the propaganda that you're hearing here on this channel. The propaganda is we've taken out everything, they're incapacitated, they can't do anything, they can't maneuver any attacks. Right? That's what Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, right, is saying. He's very proud and arrogant type of cocky guy. Right? We're gonna do what we want when we want type of guy. That's what he's saying. President Trump is saying the same thing. They can't stop us. We demand unconditional surrender. All of that is propaganda. All right. It's not really going so well. It's the truth. They're spending money. What Iran is doing, just to kind of tell you all, y'all know about the rope-a-dope? You ever heard about the rope-a-dope in boxing? That's something that Muhammad Ali, the great Muhammad Ali, late Muhammad Ali, was known for. Whereby he would just stand against the ropes, allow you to tire yourself out, right? Catch, take, sometimes get caught, right? Until you tired yourself out. He's ready now to unleash hell. You understand? This is what's happening with Iran right now. This is the rope-a-dope. They're letting the U.S. come in and send off bombs. They have to now replace those. They're running out of missiles. That's why it's costing us $1 billion a day, taxpayers. They're just because all of their stuff is protected underground. Right? Now, are they going to win this war? No. All right, we'll get to that. Some heavy information still coming. All right. So let's go ahead and keep playing.
Understand, and also the American deaths. We've only heard 6 Americans have died. I'm hearing that number is false. Maybe you can tell us about the American killed in action numbers that you're hearing about. Maybe you just can give us a sense of all of these things.
Well, let's start with Israel. I think internally, Israel is suffering from considerable unrest. There are lots of unhappy people in Israel right now. They've been through quite a lot as a result of starting this war in the aftermath of 7 October.
Kind of blurry. Can you hear
They've
it?
got armed forces with
Aaron, can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
people that are
Go ahead and keep
exhausted,
going.
that are tired. At least 1 million Israelis have left the country and gone elsewhere, and I'm sure more would leave if they were able to do so. So I think the future for Israel is ominous. It strikes me that Israel and Iran may well end up in this contest that I would describe as competitive collapse. In other words, which state falls apart first? And if I were betting, I would say Iran will not be the first, that it will be Israel. Internally, they're already bringing in large numbers of mercenaries to fight, and that's been
Stop
going
right
on
there.
almost from the
I can't
beginning.
really hear it. I'll just explain what he's saying. Okay. So basically, what he's going into is that nobody's really winning, right? America can't really win the war. There's no objective anyway, and they're wasting money. And basically, it looks like we're looking at the end of both countries, Iran and Israel. We're looking at the end of both of them as nation states. And he is correct. He will be correct, ultimately. This is what the Bible goes into when it says, I will make a full end of all nations. All right. So what we have to understand is this is what we're looking at. We're not looking at a war that's going to be won, more or less. Now let's get into the breakdown. All right. Let's get into the breakdown. Those of you that have endured, all right, all praises to the Most High. So now let's read verse 28.
It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east.
So now there's a vision in the midst of this. Now remember, we're breaking down what's going to happen in these plagues. All right, go ahead and keep reading.
Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble.
So it says the nations of the dragons of Arabia. In my version, it says the nations of the dragon and the Arabs. Now, I was doing some deep meditation on this. I wanted to understand, Lord, who exactly are these nations? What is this dragons of the nations of Arabia? What is this business here? All right, keep reading.
Verse 30. Also the Kermanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians.
So we're gonna break this down, all right? This is where it starts to get real good. Okay. So the nations, I'm gonna read it in the NKJV, verse 29 says, the nations of the dragon and the Arabs shall come out with many chariots. All right, so I'm trying to figure this out, right? You know, I've had a certain understanding, you know, but I wanted to be sure. So I went into deep meditation on this. I was, you know, going through it this week, fasting and things of that nature for some understanding and some clarity, which I got this and so much more. But I want to direct your attention to Revelation 12 and 3. This is really deep right here when it talks about the nations of the dragons, right, and the Arabs. Okay. There's been a lot of breakdowns that I've heard concerning who this is and who this is talking about. Right? But I wanna give you all what the Lord gave me recently. Right? Go ahead and break that down. Read that. Revelation 12 and 3.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
Right. So this dragon, right? This great dragon that is being seen in the spirit. I don't want you guys to read that and think that that is not what he's seeing. Like that's not actually happening. There is a dragon that he's seeing that got these crowns on his head, but it's not an earthly event, though. This is a heavenly thing. This is the spirit world that he's seeing this take place in. So everything that happens here has its counterpart in the spirit world. That's how come a lot of people argue about these things in this prophecy, like, well, hey, that's just saying the kingdoms and the dragon is actually just the white man. And okay, there you don't understand the manifestation, though. All right. So in a way, you're correct, but then in another way, you're ignorant because you don't understand that this is literally a thing. It's not, or people will say it's anthropomorphic language, all right? But it's anthropomorphic on our level, but it's literal in the heavens. He's seen that, right? So it's this great red dragon that has these crowns, right, and these heads, right? Now, what we're going to find out, the point is, the subject is the dragons of the nations of the dragons of Arabia, right, or of the Arabs. We're trying to figure this out, okay, through scripture. So this scripture right here first came to my attention through the Spirit. And then I immediately realized, oh, the 10 heads, right, and the horns, I know that these are nations in Revelation. I see the dragon. I see him wearing the crowns. All right. Can you see where I'm going with this, Aaron? Can you see where I'm going with this here? Slightly, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. All right. Go to Revelation chapter 17 and verse 7. Revelation 17, verse 7.
The book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Didn't we read that the red dragon had the 7 heads and 10 horns? Did we just read that?
Yes.
Right. Now that dragon, as we'll go back to Revelation 12 and tell you, is Satan. That's the dragon. Okay. So now we read here, there's a woman that sits on this dragon. Right? That woman, that whore, that woman that's sitting on top of him, we know that to be in Revelation Babylon or America, sitting on the beast, on the dragon. So what is this telling you? America is one of the nations that is under the dragon's power, that is working with Satan. This is what the dragons and the nations of Arabia is talking about in that passage of scripture in a nutshell. It's talking about all the nations who are Satanist. That I was telling y'all earlier in the class, that Russia is saying, hey, the West, they are Satan worshipers. Remember I said that?
Yeah.
Right? These are the nations that it's talking about. Okay. Read verse 9 and 10. I'm going to get more specific too.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Stop right there. So remember, we're trying to figure out who these nations are. Why is it saying that the nations of the dragon and the Arabs? Why is it saying that? Right? It's talking about the nations who are in lockstep with Satan. America is one of them. Are you seeing that? Are you following me? All right. The kings of the earth. Remember, we just read in 2nd Esdras. He says, I'm going to call the kings of the earth together to reference me for what they've done to my chosen. All right. So you have to follow what's going on here. What the Bible is talking about, the dragons of the Arab, or the nations of the dragons and the Arabs in one translation, right? It's talking about the United States, right? Israel, which we know are interconnected together. And we've done classes on that. And those in that region who live deliciously with the United States of America. You see that? So now what we have to do is go back and read to get understanding. Ezra 15. We were at verse what, 29?
We were at, I believe, going into verse 31. Let me see. Yes, we just read verse 30, so we would be reading verse 31.
But before we go, did that make sense? I don't want to continue to go on if it didn't make sense.
I understand where you're going with it.
Okay. Now, because I am going somewhere. That's the point. All right. So I want you to. First, we're trying to break down who these nations are. All right. So now, how are we going to figure this out? Modern wise. So what I did was I did a couple of Google searches. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm putting this together. I know the sides. We know who's on what side. We know who are United States allies, and we know who Iran's allies are, right? So if America and its allies are the nations that the dragon is dealing with, that's what is to be understood. They sit on, they do business together, so forth and so on. Then those that oppose them would not be obviously included with them. So I'm breaking it down into what I can see now. I can see there's the United States, there's Israel, and in that region, those who fellowship with the United States and live deliciously with her. So now, let me read you this. As of early March 2026, following retaliatory strikes against U.S. and Israeli actions, Iran has attacked several countries across the Middle East, primarily targeting U.S. allies and military sites. Key countries hit include Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Iraq, Jordan, Azerbaijan, and Syria. What I'm saying to you is these are the nations that are in lockstep with the United States as far as the economy is concerned, meaning they do business with the United States on an oil level, they trade in the US dollar, right? These are the individuals that have been attacked in response by Iran. Notice Iran has not hit the United States, right? You see how I see brothers online, they were saying Iran should hit the United States yet. That's not in prophecy yet. That doesn't happen. But what this text goes into a horrible war or vision that happens in the East. So now we understand how this turns into a crazy regional war, right? Because these are the nations that Iran has responded by hitting. Now, obviously, I just read that they are what? The United States military bases and certain structural sites. But you will see in the news that Saudi Arabia is about to declare war on Iran, right? Saudi Arabia is about to. Now things got real interesting. Can you see what is? Am I taking you there a little closer now, Aaron? Does that make a little bit more sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we're seeing shape up. We're seeing the United States strike, and then we're seeing Iran respond militarily. They're not daunted. They're not daunted. I mean, they're not backing down. They're not scared. They're saying, bring it on. and we will attack, and we're ready for it. And this is how we're going to hit. We're going to hit strategically. And they're also punishing the nations who are holding Americans, right? Their military, their airplanes, right? So what that's going to do is cause a regional war because those countries that are getting hit, they're getting bombed, right? Their citizens are waking up to bombs. So then what? They go to war. So this is where we are right now. We're not even at this point yet, right? But I want you guys to know at least who this first set of nations are. Now, I want to talk about the Carmanians. Obviously, I would say that they're Iran. That's Iran and their allies. These are the Carmanians. Read verse 30.
It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 30. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians.
So I want to break this down real quick. I want to go to the GNT and read that first. All right, I want to go to the GNT and read this first. 31.
All right. It's the
All
book
right,
of
it says-
2nd Esdras.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
This is
Actually,
the book
verse,
of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15
verse
and verse
30.
30.
Yep, verse 30.
The Carmonians will come out of the forest in a fierce rage like wild boars, advancing in full strength to attack the dragons. With their tusk, they will tear up a large part of Assyria.
So this is talking about the war that's going to happen. But what's going to happen is that these nations, you're going to start seeing the Saudi Arabians and the different places that Iran is hitting. They're going to send military forces. All right. They're going to send military. You're going to start seeing people's armies, nation states armies march against Iran for this. Assemble and march for what is happening. This is going to be the response. This is going to be the escalation of what you're seeing right now. All right. Then you're going to see what? The axis of resistance is what it's called. The axis of resistance is what the Carmonians are called modern day. I'm going to read that for you. All right. This is what's happening in that region right now. Go here. Let's see. I thought I sent that. Bear with me for a second. But you should know, Iran, some of the axis of resistance, who has been helping Iran, who has been helping the Palestinians. Right? So the axis of resistance is an Iran-led informal military coalition of state and non-state actors in the Middle East, including Hezbollah. Y'all remember Hezbollah? We talked about them. Hamas. Y'all remember Hamas? We talked about them. All right. Various Iraqi militias and the Houthis in Yemen. Y'all remember we talked about the Houthis? All right. Operating since roughly 1982. Dedicated to opposing U.S. and Israeli influence. The dragons, the nations and the dragons, right? The dragons of the nations are Israel, U.S., their coalition. That's who they are. The Carmonians are Iran and their coalition, their people, the people I just named. So that's going to be Yemen, right? That's going to be Palestine, those nations, Jordan. This is going to explode into a huge, huge war. Okay. Of course, you're going to have some American troops. Colonel Douglas McGregor, he goes on to say don't really expect a lot of boots to be on the ground from our forces. It's going to be like a, hey, you guys send your guys in, we'll send you some weapons. That's not to say that a lot of Americans won't be there, but the majority of the fighting, all right, of the troops are going to be from these other countries, all right, and also America and the US as well on a limited level. All right. So this war that is about to explode, all right, was started by America, obviously. They're the hammer of the whole earth, the prophecy says, right? We talked about that. So they hammered this thing into existence, and now everybody is what? Going to war over it. That's how come Revelation goes into how they made the nations angry. The nations were mad. They were drunk, right? From Babylon, because Babylon has started all of this. And now Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all of them are suffering the consequences because they do business with the United States. They are the kings of the earth that have lived deliciously with the United States, as Revelation 18 says. Okay. So what we have to understand is they are going to do battle. Let's go ahead and continue to read.
You still want the GNT?
No, go back to the KJV.
All right. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and now verse 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them.
Stop right there. So I also want to make mention of, it says, they shall join battle with them and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. I want to address that real quick. I looked that up. What is the modern day land of Assyria? I looked at that to see where that we're talking about, because what it's saying is this war is going to transpire at a certain spot, and that entire land is going to be demolished and wasted with all of these boots on the ground and things like that. All right. So they're kind of going to meet at this epicenter point, right? And that's going to be totally wasted. So I looked that up. I said, I asked, the internet, where is modern day Assyria? Right. And it says it's an ancient heartland located in the northern region of modern day Iraq, particularly around Mosul, along with parts of northwestern Iran, southwestern Turkey, and northeastern Assyria. Those are all that region that we're talking about right now. All right. So this is what the Bible is preparing us for. This is going to spark something greater. Okay. We're going to keep reading. Go ahead.
You want me to read verse 31?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them.
I'm going to read it in the new KJV. It says, and after them shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their birth, shall turn and form a powerful alliance to persecute them. This is super heavy right there. So the dragons, what does it mean when it says they're going to have the upper hand? They're going to start to win. Mm-hmm. So they are going to start to win this war, right? When it starts to get ugly. But what it talks about, it says remembering their birth, remembering their nature. Right? You ever heard Christ say, ye are of your father, the devil? Right? Remember that? You ever heard of scripture say that? Mm-hmm. That's what it's talking about. When it says when they're remembering their birth. A lot of people break it down and say, yes, the Arabs, they're going to remember like he's a wild, the Arabs is Elam and he's a wild man. No, that's not what it's talking about. Right? It's talking about them remembering their birth and forming a powerful alliance. For a split moment in time, they're going to realize, hey, we're all the nations that belong to Satan. They're going to have a powerful alliance because Satan has his time to shine in the book of Revelation. The dragon, if we would go back to Revelation 12, let's actually go back. It's appropriate to go back. Go back to Revelation 12. Go back to Revelation 12 and read verse 12.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea.
Stop right there. Didn't we just read woe to the world and them that dwell therein in second Esdras? Remember that? Right? Now it's a different perspective on that same woe. Right? So of course it's God bringing the wrath down. Right? But a part of that judgment is he's allowing Satan. That's death. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
He knows he have a short time for the children of Israel to get delivered. And then that effectively ends his reign and his power and his authority and rulership. So we get oppressed one last hard, terrible time known as Jacob's trouble. But he comes down with this great wrath. But I say that in context of second Esdras, that's how come they are going to get the upper hand. They're going to get the upper hand because it's their time. Go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child.
All right, that's a vision in the heavens.
And to the woman were given two wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times, and half a time from the face of the serpent.
Verse 17.
Verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
See that? The dragon was wroth. Who's the dragon? Satan, right? And he went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Read.
Which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
So now what you have to understand this on a physical level, right? When we transition back, I'm showing you why the dragons are going to get the upper hand. They're going to remember their what? Their nature. They're going to come together, right? Because right now, what they're not a real alliance. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, they do business with the United States, but you know, it's like we don't really like y'all like that, right? No, they're going to form a powerful alliance. You can expect to see President Trump, you know, in the future, or whoever, you know, is at the helm, negotiating and saying, hey, they closed the Strait of Hormuz. We got to get oil flowing. We got to band together for real. I know we kind of loosely associate with each other, but we actually need to come together and work together for real to eliminate this Houthi, Iranian, Hezbollah problem. We're fighting them separate. We're not fighting them together as a united force. You following me, Aaron? Right? So this is what you're going to expect to see out of what continues. It's going to be long. It's going to be drawn out. This could be 3-4 years we're talking about here. I want to make sure you understand the timing of this too, because a lot of y'all hearing this breakdown right now, and you just kind of may be at the edge of your seats like, wow, and you think it's going to happen tomorrow. But what happens is you get fatigued in remembering. You won't remember this next week, most of you that are watching right now. You need to save this and download it, because what I'm talking about is over the next years to come. All of what we're talking about takes years. One verse to another verse can be a year. You guys realize that, right? This is how prophecy works. So then when this is why I've been talking about, just to go back to the point, we've been talking about this war. We've broke this down 4 times at least, right? Sometimes some of y'all don't even remember. I asked y'all, did y'all remember? You kind of, the answers that you gave me, you remember vaguely, right? But we talked about this moment, what is happening now, 3 years ago. So now imagine 3 years from now, you could start seeing unfold what I'm talking about now today. I don't think that you're supposed to see that next week or next month, right? And that's how come the Bible talks about faith and the believer, right? And hearing the word of God and receiving it and meditating on it, letting it permeate your spirit. Some people think 2 hours right now, because we're at our 2 hour mark, is too long to hear something like this, right? And excuse me for being long-winded. Okay. I know it's kind of getting a little late. Brother Aaron, you good? Where are you at with it?
I'm good. I'm good.
Eli, we got one more video. You good? You with us? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here. What I did was is just switch phones. So I got the other phone that I'm using. So can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I was just about to say you sound a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All
There we
praise.
go. Yeah, now you sound better than me now. Shoot. But so yeah, I just wanted to make sure we here because it's 2 hours, we're 2 hours in, but we got 8 people here with us, right? Somebody said they get what I'm saying. It's my boy Dom. And all praises. So hopefully what you understand at this point is the way that the war is progressing is this. The United States has caused something. They've sparked something. They've sparked collapse in the Middle East with this strike. It puts the pressure on all those who do business with them, who have them on bases there, right? In that region. Because Iran is going to attack them. Bible prophecy sets it up that way. Okay. So now it says the dragons are going to get the upper hand because they're going to form an alliance. The dragons in the Arab, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of them that do business and live deliciously with the United States. They're first going to come out and try to deal with these problems themselves, right? They're going to try to fight Iran themselves, hit them with some missiles and things like that. Iran's going to sustain it. Then, you'll have a whole bunch of different infightings. And then once they realize, hey, Iran's really a problem and they have allies who's hitting us like bees from all over different directions, we can't fight them all together apart from each other because they're together. We actually have to form an alliance. So they'll form an alliance, right? Economically and militarily, joint exercises to effectively neutralize the Carmanians. Now, there's going to be a great battle in that part of, in the part of the land of the Assyrians. So you can see that great gathering there in that war, right? You can expect that. Great bloodshed and a destruction. And then we can see a retreat. Go ahead and read verse 33.
Verse 33. And from the
Actually,
land
verse 32.
Verse 32. Then these shall be troubled, bled, and kept silent through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume. Besiege, my bad. Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them. And in their host shall be fear and dread, and strife among their kings.
All right. Read that in a GNT for me. I want to see what it says there. Read a little bit faster too, please.
It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 33 in the GNT. The wild boars will be ambushed in Assyria, and one of them will be killed. This will bring fear and panic to their army and indecision to their kings.
I like that one. So basically it's describing what's going to happen when they're going to meet in a certain spot, and then the Carmanians, which are the boars in this breakdown, they are going to suffer a great loss. One of their kings, one of their top guys is going to be taken out, That's going to cause confusion. Or you can actually see that tactic being trying to be utilized right now, trying to cut the head off the snake. So basically, it's saying that tactic is going to be successful at a certain point when this turns fully kinetic and there's like thousands and thousands of ground troops on the ground killing each other, right? Once that starts to happen, there's going to be a certain event in which one of their leaders are going to be taken out, right, from the Iranian side. And this is going to cause strife and division, right? So they're going to actually find the real head of the snake is what this is what it's looking like it's going to be from a modern sense, and cut it off in that battle. And then there's going to be pandemonium among that side, and they're going to flee. Okay? So it will appear as if the United States and its allies have gotten a victory, right? You'll hear on the news, and we finally overcome them, and now there's, a lot of our soldiers did die. We might be in the middle of a draft by that point, right? But we have finally overcome, and it'll galvanize the United States and things like that. Right? Go ahead and keep reading.
You still want the GNT?
No, let's go back.
All right. Verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm.
Stop right there. So now I want to break down these clouds, right? As I was meditating, now these clouds was they kept coming to my mind because I originally thought, oh, these are like metaphors for the planes that are going to, because I'm thinking, okay, they're already talking about doing warfare and on a ground level. Now the clouds is talking about these angry clouds. It must be talking about the planes. So I used to think that for a while, right? That was just my loose understanding, but I never really meditated and sought the Lord on it. And what I realized is very simple. It's actually even deep. It says, behold, clouds from the east and from the north. I'm reading from the NKJV. Clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look on, full of wrath and storm. How can clouds be full of wrath and storm? What is this going into? So these clouds aren't earthly clouds. They're not the clouds that you see in the sky, right, on a regular day. They're also not the planes, obviously, that I thought they initially once were a metaphor for. Okay. So these are spiritual clouds that execute divine judgment. These clouds that are angry and full of storm and wrath that the text said, that's what the text describes these clouds as. These are clouds from heaven that execute divine judgment. So what is going to happen is when everybody, when that war seemingly culminates in the fleeing of the Iranians, right, the Iranian side, it's all going to destroy that region, by the way. It's going to destroy that entire region, right? And that's for the purpose of the Exodus, as we've already read, right? That's how our land gets cleared out so that we can go there. This is what that war is aimed for as well. So just to point that out before I get too far and forget, okay, to say that point. So now what we got to understand is these clouds. These are spiritual clouds that execute divine judgment. I'm going to show you that a couple times in scripture. Go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. Matthew 24, verse 30.
The book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
See that coming in the what?
Coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
The clouds of heaven. So they're saying Christ, I'm showing you an example of this. of the spiritual clouds here. Christ coming in the clouds. You see that right there? With power and great glory. Now, what is he coming to do? He's coming to execute vengeance on the earth. This is where I'm getting the understanding from. Right? I'm giving you some supporting scriptures for you to be able to walk with what I'm teaching right now. That's the purpose of going there. Okay. So now go to Exodus chapter 33, verse 9.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 33, and verse 9.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass, as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord talked with Moses.
See that? So it says the cloudy pillar came and stood. Why is it talking about clouds coming and standing places? These are spiritual clouds. They execute judgment. They announce the presence of the Lord. They are the, physical representation of the Lord and his will and his judgment that he executes. That's why you can see Christ coming in the clouds, it talks about. All right. And it talks about this cloud that followed the children of Israel day and night. Okay. So this is what the text is going into. I want to give you all a carnal example. Y'all might be too young for this, but I'm asking you anyway. Did y'all watch the original Dragon Ball?
Ooh, I think I was. It's been some years, but I vaguely remember it.
I was never allowed to watch it.
Oh man. Okay, all right. So Dragon Ball is my favorite. You know, of course, you got Dragon Ball Z and other Super and things like that. But Dragon Ball is my favorite anime. Now, in Dragon Ball, you have the main character Goku, right? So the main character Goku, he is, the super kid. He doesn't really know what's going on with the world. He's pure in heart. So he meets, long story short, Goku's the main character. But as he's a child, right, he gets a gift from Master Yoshi. Right? Lydia says she knows what's up. So she's going to like this example. So she'll remember when Goku received Flying Nimbus. Flying Nimbus. So the Flying Nimbus is a cloud, right? A cloud that is gifted to those who are pure in heart. They can call the Flying Nimbus, and doesn't matter where it is, it's gonna come zooming, and it's gonna you ever seen Aladdin, right? Y'all seen Aladdin when he fly on that, right? So imagine this cloud that's coming and acting just like that. It's called, and he calls it, and whenever Goku needs to get somewhere fast to fight and defeat the enemy, the bad guys, he calls for the Flying Nimbus. It's a cloud. It's a literal cloud, and it has emotions, and it gets angry, and it rains and things like that, and it comes in the blink and picks him up and takes him to wherever he needs to go, and then he goes and he beats the bad guys. They got that from here, the Bible, right? The word for cloud, you're not going to believe it, bro. The definition of the cloud, in Second Esdras is nimbus. That's what it is. It's literally nimbus. So this is where Dragon Ball gets that from. All right. So it's nimbus or thunderbolt. Okay. So that's where you would get the Flying Nimbus from in Dragon Ball. Quick side little story. I had to share that. But anyway, getting back to the breakdown. These clouds from the east and from the north and the south that are very horrible to look upon and full of wrath and storm are clouds from heaven. These are clouds that are coming to bring divine judgment. Okay. And what divine judgment are they bringing? They're bringing the plagues that we just read about in verse 5 and other places in the chapter. Okay. Yeah. So now we have to understand this is the method from on high that the Lord is going to utilize to destroy the earth, and in particular, Egypt. So now I want to call your attention back to earlier in the class when we said he will destroy Egypt with plagues as before, right? And the earth, not only just Egypt, but the earth, both are mentioned, but Egypt by name. I'm hoping you guys is following. Okay, let's go ahead and keep reading.
Salakia. We're back in Second Esdras 15.
Yep, and 35.
All right, this is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 35. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung of men unto the camel's hoo.
So now you have to understand what the prophecy just did. The prophecy just told you that these spiritual clouds is causing the destruction that's happening in the physical war. That's what's being described. It's talking about the relationship of the clouds of heaven influencing these men to go crazy and kill each other. And you're going to see in that Middle Eastern region that whole war. It's surmising the war. It talked about specifically, of course, a winner and a loser per se, even though the loss isn't complete and absolute, as we'll find out. Them fleeing doesn't mean that they lost, right? It just is like we had to retreat. But after they retreat, right? Of course, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. This is going into the amount of blood that's going to be. Read that again.
Verse
Read
35.
verse. Yeah.
They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth.
So it's talking about how these clouds are going to come, and I'm going to explain this too through prophecy. How these clouds are going to smite against one another. This is what is happening in the spirit to cause events on the earth. That's the best way I can describe it right now. But this is what the prophet is seeing and explaining to us, because you got to remember, he's seeing things that's happening in the heavens, and he's seeing things happening on the earth, and he's seeing things that is happening in the heavens and causing things to happen on the earth, and describing all of that here, right? So it does take some brain power and some following along and some comprehension to follow what I'm saying, right? Some skill, if you will. Okay, I don't expect you to get this immediately after the first time. You probably gonna have to come back and listen to it again and again. Okay, this is one of those types of classes. It's a lot of information that I'm throwing at you. Okay? So, but it has to be. It's more so for teachers, I would say, more so for those who are trying to find out, because this is going towards the destruction of Babylon. So stay with me. Stay with me. Okay. So it says there's going to be a lot of blood in this battle. It's going to be something like we've never seen over there. Horrible. And it says, and dung of men unto the camel's hump. So it's talking about just the guts, and all of that's how you know it's going to be a nasty ground offensive. We're talking about a nasty ground war here. But all of this is stirred and caused by what? The Most High, his judgments. And then we see his clouds, right? His clouds causing these things, right? Or being the initiator of those things. Reading on, it says, in short, great fear and trembling. So then he summarizes it. He didn't even continue to go on. He just wants you to know that it's going to be a very ugly scene over there, right? And yes, someone's going to get the upper hand. Notice it says the upper hand, and it doesn't say anybody won or lost. But nevertheless, I guarantee you it will be propagandized here as a win, right? Because a win is a win here, right? A win is a win. Ain't that what they say? Right? If they retreated, a win is a win. It don't matter that we lost thousands of people, right? So there's no winner or loser. And soon after that retreat, then the Lord is going to bring a divine judgment on earth. And I'm going to synchronize that with some other prophecy. Okay. So it says, in short, great fear and trembling. I'm going to pick up the reading for a minute. Trembling shall be on the earth, and they shall see the wrath, or they that see the wrath shall be alarmed and terrified. So we're talking about PTSD like crazy, like, you know, and again, this is over the course of years, everybody. This is not like a 3-month thing or a 6-month thing that I'm talking about right now. So keep that in mind. Verse 38, and then shall there come great rainstorms from the south. So this is immediately after this retreat and this great war that we see. So it's talking about these great rain clouds and storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. All right. Let me go over here and read it in the KJV. All right. This is going somewhere because this happens immediately after. All right. Well, I want to say immediately, meaning the next event in prophecy. Okay. So it says in verse 37, verse 38, rather, and then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west, and strong winds. All right, Aaron, get ready to read. You're going to go to Revelation. And strong winds, Revelation 7. And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it. Listen to this language, everybody. Listen to this real carefully. And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it. And the cloud which he raised up in wrath, the cloud that who raised up in wrath is talking about the Most High's cloud, that nimbus, right? Raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east and west wind shall be destroyed. So it's talking about winds, east and west and north winds and destruction. All right, here. Go to Revelation 7. This is heavy right here. Go to Revelation 7 and read verse 1.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth.
Doing what?
Holding the 4 winds of the earth.
See that? 4 angels at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth. You see it said that there? All right, go ahead.
That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea.
To what?
To whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea.
These angels that have 4 winds, the 4 angels that have 4 winds, these winds are what? Destruction. Winds of destruction. So it's talking about a spiritual phenomenon, right? So these winds that we're reading about are held by 4 angels for a time. But now we're reading it, it says, don't hurt the earth. So now we know that these winds are for the destruction of the earth. That lines up with what we're reading now. Keep reading.
And saying, my bad. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
All right, so that's heavy, because what now you have to understand is when you synchronize what we're reading with what this is saying is, if these winds are blowing that was supposed to be held back, we're reading about the winds actually blowing that were held back at a time. Okay, that's what I'm explaining. So in Esdras, we're seeing the winds blow and combat each other. I'm showing you in Revelation 7, the winds are stayed until the servants of God get sealed in their forehead. What am I teaching you right now? I'm teaching you that in the midst of this, all right, after that battle, and when the Lord starts to bring these clouds that we're talking about as well, that's when the 144,000 get sealed during that time period. When you read down in Revelation 7, it starts saying 12,000 sealed from here, here, and here, and here. Why is that important? Because we're still talking about the context of our Exodus. Remember, he's going to deliver us out. Right? We talked about that earlier in class. That's up there in 2nd Esdras, verse 10, 15 and 10. So as this is happening, this war is happening, the conclusion, and then proceed or immediately after that, the Lord sends his spiritual clouds and winds of destruction on earth. In between that time would mean in the scope of prophecy, when you continue to read Revelation 11, the servants of God get sealed. This is when the 144 will become the 144. Right? And be given the spiritual powers. Okay? So that's also something to look forward to. All right. And again, everybody's talking about, I said this before, everybody's talking about they're the 144. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. All right. We're gonna see who even lives to that point, because the wicked, got to remember, they're being destroyed left and right. This should be exciting for brothers that are in righteousness, right? That are walking this path. Y'all should be excited about this, because that it shows how close we are to that event happening. Right? Go ahead and continue to read in Revelations to read to the people what I'm saying.
Verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
You see that? Stop right there. So he said, winds, hold your winds, don't hurt the earth or the sea until we've sealed the servants. Now I'm showing you in 2nd Esdras, those winds were released after this great battle. Right? Remember, all of this is in the context of the Lord deciding to destroy the earth, right, for its wickedness and redeem the children of Israel. Anyway, so what I'm saying shouldn't be far-fetched. That's why I walked it down for so long, right, to get to this point. So you're also going to see after, concurrently, as we're in Jacob's trouble. That also means the 144 gets sealed during Jacob's trouble. Isn't that a belief? That's like that's such a beautiful thing to me too, to know that I can logically, and spiritually come to that conclusion. That should build hopefully some brother's faith. This is what's going on in that time period. So we're actually seeing all of this take place simultaneously. We're seeing the destruction of the wicked, but on the righteous end, we're seeing something beautiful and powerful, the sealing of the 144,000. All right. That is what will officially make us a nation when you think about it. It's the first thing a nation needs, outside of your economy. You need protection. You need a military. And you need someone to establish you as a power. All right. Remember, in the Exodus, the first Exodus, we went out as armies. All right. It says they assembled their armies and then they left Egypt. We kind of skipped that part. You can go and read it though. Pull it up. I'm not going to pull it up right now. So of course, if we're making an Exodus again, the same way as before, I don't know why people is talking about these UFOs flying us out of here. It's not going down this way. All right. It's very practical. It's just like the same as last time. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that. Let's go back to Esdras. Let's go back to Esdras and go to verse 39.
It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 39. And strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the stars stirred to cause fear toward the east, and west wind shall be destroyed.
So those are the releasing of those winds that we just read about in Revelation 7. Okay. So I'm going to read at verse 40. I'm going to need you to go in a second to Jeremiah 50. The great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath. All right. Now we know what clouds these are talking about. These are heavenly clouds. Okay. These are not your regular storm, rain clouds that you see outside. And the star, that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star. You can read about that in the book of Revelation, right? The angels that are pouring out their vials, their wrath, okay, on the earth for destruction, vengeance, those types of things. That's what this is going into. Read it on. Fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. So what this is that after this great war, where this event happens, all hell is going to break loose from a natural disaster perspective. There's going to be hurricanes and earthquakes and tsunamis on the that you've not seen before. Okay, because what you got to understand is that when the Bible is highlighting storms, we've had storms throughout all of history. I'm trying to make sure you guys understand the difference. We've had storms all throughout history. All of the storms that I'm naming, some of you all have lived through and experienced. Okay. When the Bible is highlighting storms and earthquakes and things like that, it's talking about unlike we've never witnessed before. You have to understand, when the Lord was this angry with the world that he made, he flooded it completely and killed everyone but 8 people. All right. So when he says he's going to destroy the earth for its wickedness, you got to understand we're going to be talking about cataclysmic events that's off the Richter scale. Okay, that's what is going to happen. And you're going to see these big clouds, right? And everybody's going to be afraid. You can read about that in the book of Joel, talking about a time of great darkness and the thick and cloudy darkness, right? This is what that's talking about, right? So it's going to be something that literally you see and like, no, this is God doing this. And people are going to be very afraid because they've never experienced, they don't know. When hurricanes come, what's the biggest hurricane? They got 5 or 8. I don't know what the biggest hurricane is.
Well, according to my knowledge, it's probably between 6 or 7, something like that.
Eli, you know what the Hurricane Richter scale is, right?
I think Aaron's right. I think Aaron. I'm gonna have to agree with Aaron on that one.
Okay. All right. We got 10 people on this live. Imagine 10. Somebody said a 7.
It's 5.
Imagine a 10. Right? Imagine you see a 12. People will say, what? That doesn't exist. Right. It don't exist in your eyes. You haven't seen it before, but you haven't seen what God can do.
Yeah.
God can put a 10 down here. He could put a 12 down here through the winds, through his angels, right? So when he talks about earthquakes, talks about a great earthquake and half the city or a third of the city failed. This is that same time period that it's talking about right here. Okay. So Sister Rose said it's a 5. Well, but imagine it's a 10. So if the Richter scale of an earthquake, I know an earthquake is 10, right? The highest. Is that correct?
Con, I think that's correct.
Yeah, the Richter scale, right? So imagine a 15. What would a 15 do? We're talking about off the Richter scale destruction. When the Lord says he's going to bring upon the earth plagues and one of them is destruction, That's what he means. He means it on a scale you cannot imagine. That's how come it says Egypt, it says the foundations we read up. Right? It's going to be broken. Okay? Going to be smitten, it says. So how would you smite foundations with these storms that can break, faults and things of that nature? Okay? The Lord is going to, after that battle, send these storms across the entire earth. But remember, it's been concentrated on America for what it has done to the chosen and all over the earth. All right, so watch this. Go ahead and continue to read in 2nd Esdras.
My bad. I went to Jeremiah 50.
Oh, my bad. No. You stay there. I did have you go there. All right, I'm tripping. Yeah, you're there. Okay. 38. Okay, I'm going to continue to read. It says in verse 41, fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. That's talking about great flooding across the whole earth. Great flooding. Floods. Right? You understand? Imagine lakes and rivers overflowing. Imagine tsunamis coming inland and destroying all the crops. Right? That's what God is going to do on the earth. Okay. He said he wasn't going to flood it again, but he didn't say he wasn't going to beat the hell out of it again. He didn't say that, right? So I'm thinking about it from his perspective. Like when I said I wasn't going to do y'all like this again, I'm still keeping my word, but I'm still going to really do something, right? This is the Lord getting his fame and his recognition back, his respect back, right? You don't think you can see a tsunami on the East Coast? You don't see that? You don't think you can? Wait till these winds blow. Right? We might have to put that on the t-shirt. Wait till these winds blow, right? Because that is exactly what you will see. Okay? You can see those things occurring here. So it says, and they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood and grass of the meadows, and their corn. Remember when we read over in verse 12 or verse 13, it says, they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail and with fearful constellation. Right? We read that earlier. Now he's saying, see, this is how I'm going to do it. He's just circling back. It's kind of repetitive, but it's just in greater detail here. Okay. So it says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. Right? Now we know Babylon. We should know, most of the listeners, Babylon, city of confusion. It's another name for America. Those that might be new. Right? That's you can see a couple of references. You can see it called the daughter of Babylon, right? Babylon the Great. Okay. It just means confusion. It's the land of confusion. You can see that written in Revelation 18, which is how you know it's not talking about an ancient Babylon. Of course, there's an ancient Babylon, right? But that Babylon was not destroyed in the way that God is talking about destroying this Babylon, which is how we know the difference in a nutshell for those who need understanding. Okay. So it says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. So it's talking about the what? The plagues, these disasters are going to then be centralized on the United States after their so-called victory. Oh, you think you won, right? You cheering in the streets. We got earthquakes in diverse places for you. I'm just naming, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm just so you can understand the types of destruction, like Keystone Park blowing up. Y'all talk about like those things, like what if what if California falls off into the ocean? Like, yeah, like that type of stuff. Will that'll happen, right? Of course. We warn brothers about that as well. Okay. But we're talking about those kinds of events. That's what's going to happen after this war. And I'm giving you good chronology now. You can, bookmark this. Right? Breaking it down, putting it out there, chronicling this for you. So it says, then that's going to come to Babylon. Okay. And then it says, they shall come to her and besiege her. The star and all wrath shall pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her. Do that sound familiar to any of y'all? Have y'all read that before somewhere?
So, like, can you repeat that one more time? You kind of cut in and out.
Okay. It says, they shall come to her and besiege her. The star and all the wrath shall pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her, and they that remain under her, you probably ain't going to recall that. But basically, this is what Revelation 18 is talking about. Okay? And it's what Jeremiah 50 is talking about. That's why I had you go there. All right, so now let's go to Jeremiah 50 and read verse 8. I'll show you guys something here. How second Esdras connects to Jeremiah 50.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock.
Mm-hmm. So now it's saying remove, stop right there. Remove out of the midst of Babylon. Don't that sound like Revelation 18, come out of her, my people?
My people.
Mm-hmm. We're about to understand it a little bit differently now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country.
That's what we're reading about. That's what I just read about in second Esdras. All right. When it talks about, let me go and read it again. All right. Go and read it again. When it says, they shall come to her and besiege her. The star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto heaven, and all they that be around her shall bewail her. This is what you're reading in Jeremiah. You hear it? You can see that? Makes sense?
It does. It sounds like they're gonna. It sounds like all of her allies are gonna just turn against her. That's kind of what it sounds like, or everybody's gonna turn against her.
Keep reading.
And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain.
Go back and read that verse again.
Start at the top of verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations.
Stop. An assembly of great nations. So what you have to I'm just going to break it down and tell y'all what's going on. All right? We're just going to do that because we about 3 hours in now. So basically what's going on is the Lord is going to set up America, its end, through these destructions first. All right. Now, also what's heavy is this is when we're going through Jacob's trouble. They're oppressing us the worst, but we're also finding out where the Israelites here as well. And also America is going through civil war too. All that is happening during this time, by the way. That's how come I love the book of Second Esdras. Just so when y'all be like, well, I thought it was civil war, where does that fit in? All of that's happening in this time, all together. It's all happening. So what's going on is that the Lord, after that battle specifically, is going to begin to destroy America via storms and war everywhere around the earth, right? At first, but then concentrated specifically on America. This is going to allow those dragon the Carmanians who had to go flee, but specifically those that backed them, Russia, China, that's the assembly of nations. Remember, it's the war against the dragons of the dragon and his nations, right? So no, a lot of people have say like America's allies are going to turn on them. The Bible doesn't say that. That's something I did think for a second, and I was going through. No, what the Bible says is that those that live delicious with her is going to bewail her when they see the smoke of her burning. Didn't we just read here that the smoke is going to go up unto heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her? I asked y'all, does that sound familiar? And the reason why I asked y'all that is because Revelation 18, we read this all the time. Revelation 18, and I'm going to read verse 6. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you. Who is that talking to? It's talking to the assembly of great nations that he's going to send against her, that you're reading in Jeremiah. Here, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It says, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow. And that's how you know they're not going to, America is not going to quote unquote lose over there. They'll be okay. They'll take some economic hits. You know what I'm saying? There'll be some casualties, of course, a lot of casualties, but they're going to feel like at the end, look at us. We're the United States of America. We came out on top of this thing. We told Iran they should, you know what I'm saying? That's how they're going to feel. Right? But then the Lord is going to say, okay, you think you got the upper hand? I got these storms and destructions for you, for your dwelling place, which will then weaken all of your systems. You got to think, once those natural disasters happen, what defense is America going to have?
No.
Right? You got to think about that. They're not going to have any missile defense at all. That's over with. Right? The very foundations are going to be crushed. There's no defense systems, right? There's the communications are clearly down, right? So this is going to allow and embolden Russia, China, and the rest of them. Remember, I told you guys, they are calculated. They are waiting. They are planning perfect timing to destroy America. That's what they're doing. But what they see is America destroying itself. And I always point that out. America is being destroyed from the inside out. They can see the political upheaval. They can see the civil war brewing. They don't have to invade America right now. That'll galvanize Americans. They don't want to do that. Americans are already being galvanized by this war. You can see that. And we're going to play that at the end. We're going to play why it says, come out of her, my people. Because some people aren't going to want to leave. That's the point. Right? So the point that I'm also making that is heavy is in the midst, before, right, these major plagues hit, there will be an exodus. The exodus will happen before the plagues hit. But there will be some foolish that are like the last individual that we have. And Brother Eli, if you can play this, I'm kind of all over the place, but kind of not. Y'all bear with me. Got to get a quick stretch in here.
They want these shows to y'all family reunions out here. How the hell I expect y'all to be loyal to your own?
Start it over, please. Start it over, please.
How did that sound? Did it sound too loud or?
No, it didn't sound too loud. You can play it again.
Okay, okay.
Get around other countries a little too much for me. What to expect? Boy, y'all ain't even loyal to your own family. Y'all motherfuckers won't even show up to y'all family reunions out here. So how the hell I expect y'all to be loyal to your own country? Nigga, I ain't from no motherfucking Africa. My allegiance ain't with no African. Nigga, my uncle served in the military here. My little cousin served here. My grandma died in this land. My great grandma died in this land. My uncle died in this land. Fuck, I'm a pledge allegiance to another country. Fuck, this motherfucker done murdered thousands of people just for speaking on the regime. Yeah, your stupid, simple-minded ass get up every day, get on TikTok, Facebook, and express your beliefs, and nothing happens to you, you entitled bitch. Now, I want one of you pro-black woke motherfuckers to come on my shit. If we going to war, so what? Our job is to pray for our troops and support our troops. They ensure that we safe over here. These weird white motherfuckers and all these goddamn cults, time I keep hands off of people that can potentially do harm to our people.
Y'all heard that? All right. You got some of our people that is like, look, man, this land is my land. What? I'm loyal to America. If America fall, I'm falling with it. You know, I heard when we was in Aaron and Eli, when we was in Jacksonville, I heard this Jamaican. I went to get some fish from this Jamaican spot. And I don't know if I told y'all this, but I heard him talking. I'll never forget this. He was like, them said America gone broke. He was like basically saying, I ain't gonna try to speak back to him. But anyway, he was talking about how he heard that America was going broke. And he was like, if America going broke, I'm going broke with it. I'm staying here. He said that. And I was like, bro, I didn't say nothing, but in my head, I'm like, man, we really love this place. This brother, for those that, because it wasn't the clearest audio, right? But basically, the brother was going in about how, and it makes sense to him, right? How he doesn't want to hear anything about, going somewhere else and going to Africa and leaving. He's an American. His family has ties here. They fought and died for this country, right? So y'all don't even know nothing about loyalty. Y'all not even loyal to your own families. You don't even go to your own family reunions. So I don't want to hear anybody talk to me about leaving America and going somewhere else. I'm an American. Like, my forefathers came and died here, and my people served here. And then he said, I dare one of you pro-black woke MFers come on and say something. So, I had to go on and say something, right? I had to go on and say something. So what I went on and said was, I said that the post-traumatic slave syndrome is heavy on this one, right? To which he replied, huh? That's all he could say. All he said was, huh? And then I replied again. I said, pretty much in a nutshell, I know that my typed response cannot warrant a huh, as if you didn't understand or need clarity to what I'm saying. So if you want to ask a clearer question, you can go ahead. And then he didn't say anything else. So I do want y'all to know that when he says at the end, and I dare one of you pro-black to come on and say, I did come on and say something, and then he just act like he couldn't understand and didn't want to have the conversation. So that's what happened. But that's the kind of individuals, nevertheless, we're going to have. That's how come the text is going to tell us, hey, come out of her so that you don't receive the plagues. There's going to be a time period, Isaiah 14 goes into, that the nations are going to see and recognize us as the Israelites. That's how come I said before, demonstrated before, that's also the time period in which the 12,000 from each tribe are sealed. This is our light shining and coming in the midst of darkness, as the text says. So we get an opportunity to leave, but some of us are going to want to stay and die, right? Which is why when we go to second Esdras, or be slaves, right? Second Esdras says, 15 says, and they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. So this is talking about when they come and besiege the place, they're going to spoil it and take the people in it. Read in Jeremiah where you're at. A lot of us don't even realize all of these things happen to America. Go back to Jeremiah. Where were you at?
We
You
will
remember?
still be in the middle of verse 9.
Yeah, read that.
And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain.
Mm-hmm.
And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied. Saith the Lord.
So what you got to understand is by that point, the chosen Israelites that's going to make the Exodus, they will have made the Exodus. It's going to be like hey, y'all see what's going on now? Everybody see? Y'all get out of here. Y'all ready to get out of here? Go to Jeremiah 50. Because y'all might not see it. I tell that sounds good, but I don't know. I don't really see it like that. Just go to Jeremiah 50 and start up in the chapter. All right. Start at verse 8.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock.
See that? So don't that sound like come out of her, my people? It says remove out of the midst of Babylon. I'm showing y'all something right here. And go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans. Those are just the inhabitants, the Americans, right? And be as the he-goats before the flocks, meaning go, scatter, hurry up, get out. For lo, I will raise up and cause to come against Babylon an assembly of great nations. So we leave before the great nations come. He's telling us to leave, which means you have a choice to make. You following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God.
All right. So he's saying, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. So you're going to know it's time to go because they're setting themselves in array.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to be like, oh, everybody's going to be like, oh, it's time to go. Right? Matter of fact, start up, just so you know. Start at verse 4. This is heavy. It's heavier as we get more context. It's going to prove itself to you, right? Jump to verse 4. This is earlier. Mm-hmm.
Verse 4. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek the Lord their God. They shall ask the way. They shall ask the way to Zion.
They shall do what?
Ask the way to Zion.
See that? This is out of Jacob's trouble. We're talking about when we're mourning because of Jacob's trouble, and we're going to ask and seek the way to Zion, because the whole earth is going to be destroyed and taken. Like everything's going crazy. We're going to realize, man, we gotta go back home. We're going to seek the way to Zion. We're going to be sad and distraught. We're going to be Jacob's trouble is going to break us so bad. We're going to seek how can we get back. It's time to go back. Read.
They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to the Lord in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
See that? That's what we're going to do during this time. All right, during Jacob's trouble, it's going to humble us to the point where we're going to want to make a covenant with God, a perpetual covenant. This is all at the same time where the 144 is sealed and raised up, and our nation kind of is recognized and come together, right? And we're going to be seeking the way to Zion. That's what we're going to be seeking. This is the Lord bringing us out with the mighty hand and the stretched out arm. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look like all of a sudden we beamed up in the chariots. Please stop. Go ahead and keep reading.
Verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place.
Read.
All that found them have devoured them. And their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord.
Stop. So now you got to understand what's going on here. We are being oppressed to the level that we are during Jacob's trouble because they don't care. We've offended the Lord. You're the Israelites, cool, right? You know what that means? You've offended the Lord. So you have to understand what the logic is. The logic of us, like literally in the middle of Jacob's trouble, we get recognized as the Israelites. The 144 gets sealed. So that means all the earth is going to know we're the Israelites. But our oppressors are still going to hold us captive here because they're going to also realize, oh, well, if you're the Israelites, you're supposed to be punished. You're supposed to be punished for the things that you've done. Anyway, more Jacob's trouble for you. Oh, you're the Israelites? Good. Okay. We're gonna help God with his judgment on you. You know that's how they twist scripture, right? You know that's how they think about it. You know, President Trump is telling the commanders, which the commanders are telling the soldiers, and the soldiers are complaining that Trump is saying we have to go and do this war in Iran to bring about the return of Christ in Armageddon. That's what they're telling the soldiers. The soldiers are complaining about it. Christian soldiers, because the commanders are now using this to talk about how there needs to be massive bloodshed to trigger the return of Christ, as if Christ is coming back to fight for them on their behalf. Though. So they already take and twist and manipulate the prophetic scriptures as to make them the good guy. Okay, when they're actually the villain. So what their logic is, when we actually get known among the earth, all of this is happening simultaneously. Okay, we're not actually offending the Lord and continuing to oppress them, even though we know that they're the Israelites and they've come back together. That also means we're coming back together as a nation, right? That's Zephaniah 2:1. Okay, even though we know they're the Israelites now and we accept that, and it's clear, the DNA evidence shows it. Talked about that, all right, last class. We're not offending the Lord and keeping them here, right? We're not letting them go, right? Matter of fact, here's some more Jacob's trouble because you're the children of Israel and God is punishing you for your iniquity, right? That's the logic that they'll employ. It's pretty heavy when you think about it. Go ahead and keep reading.
The habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers.
Read.
Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock.
Mm-hmm.
For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain.
See that? So that's what it's going into. Right? Then they shoot their arrows. Right? I'm going to pick up at verse 14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her. Spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. Shout against her round about, she hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. Right? Because that's talking about the destruction that the Lord brings prior. So now It's like a cue in prophecy. The Lord is saying, hey, I've destroyed the foundations for Babylon. She's ripe for the taking now. Now all you that bend the bow, shoot those arrows. So no, America is not going to be quote unquote bombed and things like that until after the Iran war and after all of these destructions, right? So we're not looking up at no missiles. Now that's not to say that different terrorist attacks aren't going to happen here and things like that. But when we're talking about like the quote unquote nukes and the ICBMs that take out cities and things like that, like the Bible's talking about, that doesn't happen till then, right? Because it's the perfect opportunity. Okay. It says, for it is the vengeance of the Lord, the take vengeance upon her as she hath done, do unto her. We just read that in Revelation 18. All right, let's go back to it. I'm gonna go back to it. Revelation 18 and 4 and 6. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much now it goes in even deeper, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. Who is this talking to? This is talking to those who hate her. Okay. So now you can understand, or you should understand, the kings of the earth, right? And the nations who will not serve us. Those will be the nations that were dealing with the dragon directly, right? In opposition to the other nations. Okay. Hopefully this is making a lot more sense to people. It's very practical, right? How our nation, comes back to reestablishment in the new heavens and the earth situation, right? And what nations are going to comply and what nations are not going to comply. The nations who are dealing with Satan, they're not going to comply. It's just that simple. But then other nations are going to help us. All right. So that should answer that question. No, all America's allies don't turn on her, right? That doesn't happen, right? This is what happens. Verse 9 in Revelation 18. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, aka her allies, right, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Right? We read that in Jeremiah, and we read that in 2nd Esdras. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour thy judgment is come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Meaning their allies are going to stand and watch and not jump in. They're not going to have any power to do so. Who are their allies? You got to think. Can they go against Russia and China? Can France go against Russia? No. Who's going to help America when these forces come? When China comes? Who's going to fight China? Which one of America's allies want to stand up against China? What you can see is what you can apply to America's allies turning on her is America's allies don't rock with her that much to fight China and Russia. That's what you should be able to see that right now because they're talking about that right now. That's what you should understand. America's allies, they don't want no smoke with Russia or China or Iran. They don't want smoke. Britain don't want smoke. France don't want smoke. You understand? So this is what you're going to see. Okay? You're going to see those forces come against a weak and destroyed Babylon. And you're going to see their allies just sitting like, man, our oil is done. Because you got to think how many people are connected to the dollar, right? How many of them, and by that point, it'll be some type of other system, but still connected to America, economic wise. That's what this is talking about. They're going to bewail her because that means that their economy is finished too. Right? But notice that's all they're going to do is cry over it. They're not going to help assist it because they're directly financially tied to the United States. So no, the allies don't never completely turn on the United States. That wouldn't make any sense. Right? I don't really know. Oh yeah, I do know where they get that from. They get it where people get it from where it says, and the horns are going to hate the whore, right? And then burn her with fire, pretty much. So I understand why people think that. But America's actual allies are going to just bewail her and say, man, Your judgment has come. And it talks about the merchants of the earth weeping and mourning because they can't buy and sell and do business and trade anymore. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, all praise. Okay. So now I want to close with this. I'm going to close back. Second Edges. Been here for a while. Okay. It says, and they that shall remain in her shall serve them that have destroyed her. Okay. If you continue to read in Jeremiah, it says the same thing. But what you should understand is those that don't want to come out of her, my people, so that you don't receive the plagues, what is going to be ironic is they're going to really be slaves to the forces that come over. The text also says in Jeremiah that we read that they're going to spoil them and be satisfied. So that means there's going to be a pillaging. So that means after they come and bomb everything to make sure everything is completely obliterated, then they're going to come inland and take everything and take everybody. America will be spoiled after she is destroyed. Okay? And people will go into slavery. Okay? That's what it means. They're going to serve them. There's going to be slavery again. Once you got to think, once this kind of destruction and war comes, right? We're not talking about a capitalistic, democratic run society anymore. We're going back to the good old ancient days. Right? That's how the Lord, shakes the nations in the heavens. Right? So I don't want people to be alarmed by that. And the crazy part is, those of us that want to be like the guy that we heard in the video, you want to stay here? I'm staying here. That's the kind of guy that'll stay. He's the kind of guy that the prophecy has to be written, come out of her, so that you don't partake in this. Yeah. Don't go down with the ship. Because you're thinking you're just going to go down with the ship, and you actually are going to go to another place anyway for slavery. That's the irony, right? If you don't die in the missiles, of course, like that. Okay, so it's going to be a great pillaging and spoiling of Babylon the Great after our Exodus. Okay? And then we go from there. Okay, into the wilderness, and that's more. So with that being said, that's a good place to stop. All right. Lord willing, this was edifying. We've been here 3 hours and 17 minutes. You guys are some troopers. All right, all praises for this class. Like I said, I did condense this. Right. You have to imagine I got about maybe no, I'm not going to exaggerate. Maybe 10 to 15 hours worth of information, and I condensed it to about 3. I really got a lot more detail that we can go into. But like I said, I wanted to just paint a good, clean picture as far as what was happening now, all the way until the Exodus, and hopefully we have some understanding of what that looks like. I'm available for questions, right? I'm available for questions, comments, and things like that. If you need some more understanding, like I said, this is a heavy class, so I don't expect you to understand it and grasp it all tonight. You're gonna have to definitely sit with it and go back to the scriptures. I could go more in depth. Maybe I will if necessary, but I think it was just a good picture being painted. That was the goal. So hopefully I did that. All praises to the Most High. I did want to allow brothers to have any final words. I've been here for quite some time.
And I don't really have too much. It's definitely a lot to digest. I will say it's funny kind of hearing that revelation breakdown. In Christianity, they wouldn't really dare touch that. You know what I mean? But now it's kind of like hearing it and just kind of having it broken down clearly. No, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense, bro. So definitely kudos to you, man, and Most High's blessings upon you, brother. Keep going.
All praise to the Most High, man. I'm glad it made sense. That's what I really try to do. I try to aim it to make sense. A lot of it is about faith, obviously, and belief in the words. I can quote unquote lead to the water, but can't make you drink, right? I can't make you believe what I'm saying is true, but it is for the purpose of increasing our faith in righteousness and in truth. And, of course, I believe I'm correct, but, you know, the listeners, their job is to, you know, pray on it, read the scriptures, and go from there. Brother Eli, did you have anything?
Can I be heard?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a powerful lesson. The end about leaving Babylon kind of blew my top off because I was under the impression for quite some time that the chariots was gonna get about this thing. So after hearing the scriptures being read, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah. So now it's just putting the thought in my mind to, you know, uh, just figuring out that process, with you all in the community.
Like getting passports, right?
Right, right.
Things like that, right? So yeah, this is more so what I was hoping that brothers would get out of it. Ultimately, is the preparation that's necessary, what it actually looks like. So all praises. Like sister, let me put this. Lots of people are missing out, and that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about people missing out, we're talking about people that would be interested in the information. So what it's our job to do as a community is to spread the information. Right? We have a lot of clips, right? We have a lot of clips that we can put out on our social media to put these things in people's ears. Okay. We have to share this broadcast. You have to share the channel. You put that up right now. Banners. Like, share, subscribe. All right. When I haven't been asking for the donations like this one. If you would like to donate, please donate. We are putting together our first Passover. It should be a mighty move of the Most High. I'll be making mention of that as time goes on. And we'll get a lesson like this. Imagine what we're gonna get at Passover, right? In those 3 days. We're gonna have something like this. Couple things like this for sure. Right? That only we will hear. Right? All phones will be off and everything else. So it's gonna be mighty. It's gonna be in the Orlando area. If you would like to attend, hit me up. Hit up anybody in the sanctuary. Hit us up. We would love to have you there. So all praise to the Most High. We'll shut this thing down. I believe I'm coming with a class tomorrow. I believe I'm going to teach tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to be teaching. Well, I do know the topic, but I don't know if I'll be teaching it tomorrow because we ran so late. I haven't even begun to put it together. But we'll see. So we may have a class at noon and we may not. But if we don't, you'll know why. Right? We've had the equivalent of 2 classes tonight. So with that,
Hey, real quick, brother.
go ahead.
So I know you spoke about, the Exodus. Are you going to do a class on that? Like I think you've done one before, but are you? I think we all want an updated version.
Okay. Yeah, I can. If you just requesting a class in the Exodus, we can
Yes.
definitely put together a class in the Exodus. And you know what? We'll do it for Passover. That'll be the perfect time. It actually will be the perfect time to do a class on the Exodus.
All praises.
God.
You see that? You gotta come to the Passover to hear the story of the Exodus.
Yeah.
So, yes, sir.
My boy.
Anything else?
Nah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
All right, y'all. Y'all be blessed. Shalom.
Shalom.